Here.
Birch. Here. Biro.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Doherty.
Here.
Bisek.
Here.
Fitt. French. Gallagher.
Here.
Herman. Johnson. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm hearing that. Okay. Kaufman. Kearns.
Here.
Mead. Lund.
Here.
McCarville. Merle.
Here.
Osborne.
Here.
Clantenberg.
Yep.
Wait, sorry, Skip Peterson. Okay. Rode. Snell.
Present.
Swanson.
Here.
Talon.
Here.
Turthall.
Here.
Trendle. Voss.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Williams. Here. Wilson. Wolf.
Roseff.
Getley. Here. Rode. Here. Okay. With that, we'll move into the approval of the minutes. Are there any objections to last week's minutes? With that, the minutes are approved from last week. Committee reports. Rules.
Hello. Looks like we're having the next time everywhere on the table.
Anybody have a Mac VGA?
Yeah, you guys have a converter.
It is currently
One that I can bring. Do you have that one?
no, we don't have
No,
it.
I don't have. Or a- I can bring one in the future. I can go get one. Usually has one, so-
Do you have that?
No, but it's good that
Oh, yeah, I'll plug it in
You
here.
can go with one for that.
Let's see, so rules met this Monday at 6 o'clock, like we usually do. It'll probably be about 6:10 in the future, just so you guys know. We had a nice little bonding session, not too much stuff going on. In the future, we'll be talking about a lot of election stuff. You don't really have to worry about that until the fall, but just be prepared to hear a lot about that. And probably a lot of bylaw changes in that regard. Also, we have a lot of finance bills tonight, so you'll be hearing a lot more about that from Daniel, our finance director. So that's pretty exciting. We have some cool stuff to go over tonight. It might be a little bit of a longer meeting. All right. And that's pretty much it for the rules committee. Make sure you guys are respectful tonight. That's something we talked about as well. Just respectful and have fun with it. Have good debate and all that. So let's get on. Thanks.
Are there any questions for rules committee? Finance committee.
Can you move me down? Please. I'm
Can I do
pulling
that?
up my report.
Okay. Public relations committee.
Oh, well, you got please. First off, pictures. If you haven't had your picture taken, please come see me after the meeting. From looking around, I'm pretty sure everyone in this room has gotten a picture taken already. And then I'll be working with the webmaster over the summer to get a personal page made for everyone in this room, so you kind of have your own page, link to the website, I'll have your picture, your contact information, and then also a biography. So start working on a biography to put on the website. Probably 1 to 2 paragraphs, just basic information, background information, and kind of things you'd like to do with GSB. Vice Speaker Snell already has this on the website. It's like 7 paragraphs long, so just keep it to 1 or 2. You don't have to make it as long as Barry's.
I'm old, I got a lot to say.
Excuse me, I'm 4. And then also with the biography, it'll have your committee assignments up there too. So also send those to me when you send me the biography. But I'll be sending an email out later, probably not until after the semester, to do that. Next, for the outreach, for anyone that worked at Meet Your Government Day, the way that it's going to work, if you work, it's 10 points an hour for the first 2 hours, and then after that, it's just no more points. So if you work 2 hours or more, you get 20 points. If you just work an hour, you get 10. So when you fill out the form for that, in the date section, just put how many hours you work. That way I know to give you the amount of points you deserve. And then also, with that being said, whenever we do events like this, in order to get the points, you have to fill out an event evaluation form. So that just consists of, there's questions on there just for you to answer. You can be very brief about it, just a sentence for each question. It shouldn't take you longer than 5 minutes to do. And then going off of that, on the GSB website, for more convenience for everyone, I created a separate page for the outreach stuff. So it has the submission form, the event evaluation form, the activities list, those types of things. So that way, in case you need it in your email, it'll be on the website. If you go to the website on the main page, you click the legislation tab, go down to standing committees, click on public relations committee, and then if you scroll down on the page on the PR committee, there'll be a separate link. It'll say click here or something like that. You'll click that and it'll ask for a password. I'll send the password on an email. The reason that's password protected is because I don't want random people filling out the submission form. So, like, someone accidentally giving me more points or taking points away. So since our meetings are recorded, I won't say the password out loud. I'll send it out in an email. But, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just, yeah. And then I would assume Senator Ross will give an update on the Meet Your Government Day during open forum, or he will now that I said it. But I just wanted to touch on the surveys that were handed out during Meet Your Government Day. We had 455 people fill out the survey, and there was around 2,000 students in attendance, so 455 is a pretty good number. Out of those surveys, 70% of the surveys indicated that people came for free food. So the food did draw people in. And then out of those 455, we received roughly 70 emails for GSB notifications, so that was really good. But in general, the feedback was pretty good. We learned a lot of stuff that will help us in the future to grow. And then lastly, PR committee, I need to speak to you briefly after the meeting. So we'll just meet in this general area, it'll be very brief. Senator Graham.
Was there an overarching reason on people's surveys for the reasons they didn't vote in the election? Or was it just a lot of I don't care?
Answers with that. Yeah, it was pretty much no and I don't care, something like that. People didn't know we had an election. There's a really funny one, I can't remember what it was right now. But yeah, it was just pretty much no, don't care, that kind of stuff. Senator Morone.
Yeah, you said that you learned a lot of things that could help us going forward. Are there any major ones that you can share real quickly?
Probably just people not knowing the services we provided, those types of things, what the purpose of GSB is.
Are there any further questions?
Awesome.
University Affairs.
All right, so pardon my just tonight, but we had our first meeting tonight at 5 o'clock with the University Affairs Committee. We brainstormed ideas for the next year, being that it is our last meeting for the year this year. Not too much is going to get done this year, but we also talked about meeting with people from the organizations of like parking, event planning, FP&A, student affairs, campus order accounting, and risk management, places like that, so that we can start building those personal relationships with people from those different offices, so that when we do go to them to work with projects, that it'll be a little bit more easy to get those things done. We also talked about how we're going to, from our brainstorming list, pick 3 projects to start on next semester and form a task force for those specific things. So instead of just one person trying to take on a project on their own, there will be a specific team set up to take those on and hopefully make a little bit larger impact and get things done more quickly next year. Other than that, we're looking forward to next year. And does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Vice Speaker.
All right, I don't have much to say, so I'll keep it short. I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out to Meet Your Government Day on Monday. It was fantastic. Between us and senior day, we probably fed 2,000 people or so. We personally gave out 900 hot dogs, 400 hamburgers, and SEC gave us another 100, 150. So do the math, 1,400, 1,500 pieces of meat that GSB ourselves gave out, so that was fantastic. Like Chairman Bao said, we got some good feedback from surveys. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. Especially want to recognize Senator Voss. He is a hero for having stuck out the long and arduous task of organizing this. It's very difficult to do, and nobody had ever done anything like this before, so props to you, sir. Likewise, everybody who stuck it out for more than an hour or so, like especially I know a few of you were there all day and multiple hours at Android. You were stuck at the bread line handing out buns literally all day long, so that was pretty cool. So thanks again, guys. It was a success, and we are already brainstorming. Like right away as it ended, we were already brainstorming how to make it better, and we're already in discussions on how to come back in the fall and make it bigger and better and more awesome, and so it'll be great. Thank you very much, everybody.
Are there any questions for our Vice Speaker? Finance.
Sorry for the delay. Technology is great. So as you all got my finance memo this week, I do have one typo to report, and I apologize for that. If you go to look at the 2013-1-003F, funding the student organization database rewrite, it says it was sent to Senate favorably, it was sent unfavorably, as it records in my minutes. So I apologize for that. You'll also note that there is a Finance Committee amendment on the funding KURE Fest. That is reflected there as well as in the minutes. And I guess I will talk a little bit about the brainstorming sessions I mentioned in my memo as well at the end, so as to not hold up anybody. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions for me, we'll take them now. Otherwise, we can get started.
Is the mic on, Dan?
It very well could be. It's muted. Hey. Hey.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Game changer. Are there, sorry, Senator Fitton. You may.
Can you please send me that memo last for you?
Correct, I will do that.
Thank you.
Speaker Williams, where's the amendment?
Yes, it is under the bill that it was proposed for.
Any further questions? Thank you. Comments from the executive branch.
All right, good evening, everybody. You're going to hear a lot from me tonight because I have more than the usual amount of comments due to the fact that we don't have a meeting next week, and I also will be presenting the State of the Student Body address later tonight, so get excited for that. I just emailed out these comments, so I guess I'll touch on the highlights. Excuse me. And not read through everything verbatim. First thing I want to touch on is that last Thursday I heard from Dave Miller, who's the Associate Vice President for Facilities, about the renovations at the Fisher Theater that are meant to kind of alleviate the accessibility concerns. And Iowa State received approval from the State Fire Marshal to begin a project that would install a sprinkler system at Fisher Theater, which should alleviate those concerns. And that project to allow a handicapped student to move back to where it was previously placed in the building. This is what was explained to me a little bit over my head, but I think it all sounds good to me, and I know that they're working hard at FP&M to make sure that those concerns are taken care of. So that project is scheduled for completion by January. Vice President Kletcher and I also met with the GPSS leadership, talked about a few issues that they have they'd like to work with us on, and vice versa, and I've contacted a couple senators that are kind of directly related with that discussion we had with them to kind of work more on that later. Also, I sent an email last Thursday to all Senate and Cabinet members about the proposal that Iowa State Department of Residence has put on the table to lease buildings in West Ames as well as the legacy apartment building for Department of Residence use next year. and this proposal will be voted on for approval at tomorrow's Board of Regents meeting in Cedar Falls. So I'm sure the Regents will have more questions for Warren Madden will be at that meeting, so he'll be able to answer those questions of the Regents, and I'm sure that will be covered by at least the Des Moines Register and some other media outlets as well. So if you want to see that information, you should check the news. That probably will be published on Friday. I also want to commend Senator Voss and all those who were involved in the Meet Your Government Day on Monday. I thought it was a tremendous success, and I'm looking forward to continuing that in the fall. Let's see what else I want to talk about here. There's a lot of stuff in this document. Like I said, you can all read through it and see everything, and if you have any questions, you can ask me. I do want to touch on the Executive Cabinet meeting that we had earlier today in room 2210. We worked on assigning project managers to our projects for the upcoming year. The Cabinet at this point has 55 projects that we would like to work on over the next year. Sounds like a big number, but we do have 18 members of the Cabinet, so everybody's going to be managing roughly 3 projects a person over the course of the year, some big, some small. We're not going to get all of them accomplished, and we know that, but we're sure going to try and see what kind of progress we can make and hopefully have the most successful Cabinet in terms of project completion and project development that we've ever had. So definitely looking forward to that. I mentioned the Board of Regents meeting a little earlier. Vice President Kletcher and I will be heading to Cedar Falls with former President Jared Knight, who's out there at the GSB cookout. If you don't know, the former GSB members traditionally have a cookout directly outside the Campanile room on one of the last meetings of the year to kind of rub it in a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that next year. But just some other things in this update. You can see there's a number of meetings that we'll be having over the next couple of weeks. Like I said, I included everything through the rest of the year because we will not have a meeting next week. So if you have any questions about any of the meetings that I've had scheduled, I've included them all in this document. If you have anything that you want to be sure I address, for example, with the mayor at SSFTC, with Jamie Pollard, with the Iowa State Daily Editors-in-Chief, let me know, and I'll be sure to talk about those. So that kind of covers most of the general gist of the document, and you should have all received it in your email as well. So I'll yield any questions.
Senator Bauer.
Mayor, President.
You may.
I know last term, former Chief Staff Gall made like a visibility Excel sheet. Is that something you plan on doing again? Sounds really useful, I thought.
Yeah, so Senator Bauer is referring to what was called the visibility board for the Cabinet. What it had was a list of all the projects that all Cabinet members were working on, an expected completion date, and also kind of a progress report bar that showed like a percentage of how much the project had been completed to that point. And we plan on doing something similar. I don't think we'll use the visibility board in the same form that it was kept, but there will be something, there will definitely be an opportunity somewhere on the website and perhaps elsewhere where people can see projects that are being worked on, who's project manager, who else is involved in the project, expected completion date, and the same information that was included on the visibility board.
Thank you.
Senator Reed.
Mr. President.
You may.
I haven't got, excuse me, I haven't gotten a chance to talk to Pete yet about it, but have you heard anything from him or anyone in DOR about the reasoning for the choices that they made? I know last time Pete was here, he kind of lambasted off-campus, the idea of off-campus apartments, especially the Grove he was asked about specifically. He said the denotation or connotation with partying and stuff like that, and then they go and choose Legacy Tower, which obviously has that connotation. So have you gotten a chance to talk to Pete at all about the reasons for their choices or not?
I've not spoken with Pete.
Okay.
I do not know why the buildings were selected, but I can speak to the concerns about Legacy with the party reputation that it may have in a conversation that I had with President Leith about this issue. And he mentioned that the administration is very aware of that, and that's why they anticipate having a lower ratio of CAs to students in the building than they would have in normal residence halls. So there will be more community advisors in Legacy next year than there per student than there would be in a residence hall on campus like Friley or like Maple.
Okay.
So that's their intention of kind of combating that issue, but they are very aware of it, and I can't speak to why Legacy was selected as an option. I knew that they looked at multiple options, but I can't tell you what the criteria were.
Okay, thanks.
President Hughes, you mean higher ratio, correct?
I was trying to think about that.
There will be more CAs.
Well, no, lower ratio, like 3 to 1 instead of 4 to 1, or or 1 to 5. I am just a lowly political science student. Point of order.
Are there any other questions for the President? With that, we'll move into our programs this week. We have President Hughes. At this time, please close your laptops. your iPads, whatever you got, for the state of the student body, Chris.
Thank you, Vice President Klesher. Good evening, everybody. The GSB Constitution states that the President must address the Senate on the state of the student body once per session. So I'm here tonight fulfilling that duty for the first session of the 2013-2014 term. But when I think about what the nature of this is, a report on the state of the student body, I believe that each of you would have that knowledge almost before anyone else and before any report. Because as GSB senators, your role is to represent students. And as you sit in this room, your voice is the voice of the students in your college or the students who live in the same area as you. You are, or at least you should be, closer to the students than anyone else. So I want to talk today more broadly about what GSB is and what GSB should become as it relates to the student body. Because everything that we do is for the student body. GSB is here to represent student interests, and we do a great job of that in a lot of aspects. But we have a tremendous amount of work to do in some vital areas of representation that we must all focus on together over the upcoming year. I want to focus on 3 areas where we need to and where we can make significant improvements. These areas are transparency, connection, and creative problem solving. First, GSB must become a more transparent organization. Transparency leads to accountability, and accountability leads to better government. Now, we have taken great strides together in this area, and we must continue to move forward with them. We are already video recording every Senate meeting, thanks to the hard work of Senator Bauer and others, and this technology and process will only improve over the next year. We'll soon have an updated display case outside of the West Student Office space, with contact information and Senate and Cabinet meeting agendas posted every week. We'll have an easy-to-use website with the name, position, and contact information and picture of every GSB representative on Senate, Cabinet, Supreme Court, and every committee, both within GSB and outside of GSB in the university. On that website, we'll have the vote record from every Senate meeting and the minutes from every meeting of every GSB entity, Senate, Cabinet, committees, and more. We'll also have publicly available information about upcoming legislation and a running tally of how much money we've spent, from which accounts, and what it's been spent on. We'll integrate our social media accounts, and we'll be updating our Facebook and Twitter accounts with news on a daily basis. We'll have a list of every GSB-owned capital item. Excuse me for a second. Former President Knight is distracting me. Now I've lost my place. Thank you. We'll have a list of every GSB-owned capital item on the website, and any student will have the opportunity to submit a reasonable request to use any of these items. No student should have any trouble finding information about what we do. My goal is to make GSB the most transparent student government at any college or university in the nation, and we will achieve this goal. Our push for transparency will not only be internal. Students pay many fees, and the details of each of these should have easily accessible, easily understandable, and public information about where they go and what they accomplish. GSB is in charge of the activity fee, and we will make that transparent. But this information should be just as easily accessible for the services fee, the building fee, the recreation fee, the health facility fee, and the technology fee. This transparency can and should be applied to student tuition as well. The university and each college within the university should have an easily accessible, easily understandable, and public record of where student tuition dollars are going. As the Board of Regents has made transparency a priority, so will GSB, and this combined effort will result in a much more transparent and accountable university. Second, GSB must become an organization with a stronger connection to the students it represents. This is an issue that has been raised year after year, and some progress has been made. We've already taken a great stride forward in connection with the successful Meet Your Government Day, and similar events in the future will only serve to strengthen this connection. We all must do a better job on an individual level of connecting with students. Some say that face-to-face conversation is the best way to connect. Others claim that using new technology like Facebook and Twitter is more effective. I say, let's do both. Let's all make a point to connect with students through all of the channels available to us. Speak with students about issues, share GSB business through social media, email friends about something we did that they would be interested in. We can't limit ourselves to any single platform to connect with students, when there are a few dozen of us in this room and 31,000 people outside of it that we're tasked with representing. Don't be what I will pejoratively refer to as a Wednesday night senator. One who shows up at 7 p.m., flips the switch and becomes a GSB senator, then flips the switch again as they leave the room and turns it off. You are always a GSB representative. You must always remember this. Your job is 24/7. So connect with students any way that you can. Talk with people about issues across campus. Post an informal poll on Facebook about upcoming legislation. Connect with the students that you represent. Third, GSB must be open to creative problem solving. What I mean by this is a willingness to approach problems with an open mind, embracing the potential of doing something that we have never done before. GSB is facing some significant issues as we enter the next school year. We're facing a large increase in enrollment, causing some students to likely live in public-private partnership housing that has never been done at Iowa State before. How will these students be represented in GSB? We also face significant issues with diversity. Precia Cardile, our Director of Student Diversity, has met with a number of multicultural student organization leaders already, and many have stated that they feel unwelcome at GSB meetings due to a perceived lack of diversity. Now, while I understand that diversity includes many things and has many components, our lack of ethnic diversity and lack of gender diversity is obvious at a first glance. We must make serious strides to become a more welcoming student organization and seek the best student leaders for GSB that will bring more diverse perspectives. We're also seeing more and more student organizations come to us and request funding. As the requests grow exponentially faster than the available funds do, how do we best serve students? A significant overhaul of the GSB funding mechanism is something that Finance Director Radisky, myself, and others have determined is necessary moving forward to preserve the mission of GSB. And these are only a few of the many significant issues that we will face together over the next year. We must always remember that the right answer may be something we've never done before, or that no one has ever done before. Each solution to a problem, no matter how simple it may seem now, was tried for the first time by some brave soul at one point. Over the next year, we'll have to be brave and engage in some creative problem solving ourselves. So what does this all mean relative to the state of the student body? It means that when we become more transparent, the student body holds us more accountable. It means that when we become more connected, you can tell me or anyone else what the state of the student body actually is. And it means that when we become more creative in our problem solving, we're able to face any challenge, no matter how difficult, standing together as one organization, the student body at Iowa State University. Let's do it together. Thank you, everybody. Let's have a great meeting.
Would you entertain any questions?
Sure, why not?
With that, are there any questions? Senator Bauer.
May I address the question
You
again?
may.
Thank you for doing this. I know.
I kind of have to.
In my time, this is like first time the president's addressed us, so this is nice. Only one question. When you talk about the website, having all that stuff up on there, I know we want to put like the video and stuff up on there. The only problem is that you can only upload 16 megabyte files at a time. So is there talks of either increasing, I don't know if you can increase that, if we have to like get a new website to do that? I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
Can you speak to a specific file that isn't being able to be uploaded?
I guess when I try to upload the videos, like it just says it can only be 16 megabytes or whatever like that.
We're able to host those on YouTube currently, right?
Yeah.
I think that is a pretty valuable, I mean, we can put a link on the website to the YouTube, so we're going to have to be kind of creative in our problem solving, right?
And I will direct that to Senator Mazzoni. I think he has an answer.
Yeah, if I might speak to that, you can embed them on the website, which doesn't imply uploading them, but will still, it allows a seeable and clickable video without banding these bandwidth.
Any other questions? Senator Dean.
Rather than specifically focusing on one thing or the website, in the past you've tried to do stuff like this to be more transparent with the website, but it's overwhelming for one person to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you fielded, or are you going to add extra webmaster positions? Or are you trying to get extra, like multiple webmasters, because I don't think it's possible for one person to do all of this.
So we've already kind of made it into a team effort. I've been in touch with Speaker Williams, Vice Speaker Snell, Senator Bauer, Senator Kearns, and a few other people that we're all going to kind of kind of make sure that our own, so we've broken it down into what needs to go on the website, and certain people are tasked with certain things, and they have the admin privileges to post that. So Webmaster Paul Gerlich is still in charge of the website and will still have the primary website maintenance responsibility, but he'll also be working on kind of a redesign, making it look prettier. He'll also be putting a new front end on Ledgeman, so it will also have a little bit more aesthetically pleasing sense to it, and kind of cleaning up the code with that too, because I know, as a former speaker, I know it has a lot of issues with, sometimes if you put an apostrophe in a bill title, the bill disappears. So he'll be cleaning up things like that. But we're kind of crowdsourcing the work to post everything on the website, and together as a team, we'll be keeping each other accountable.
Okay, thanks.
Senator Kearns.
Yes, you mentioned a potential overhaul to the finance system of GSB. I didn't know if that was still in the extremely preliminary phases, or if you had any specific ideas on how you might go about that.
It's very much in the preliminary stages, and you can expect more information about that later from Finance Director Radisky.
Any other questions for our speaker? That, let's thank him one more time.
Thank you.
And our group of the week this week is Dance Marathon, so please take the podium.
Hello, my name's Anna Krinditz. And I'm Jessica Pierce. And we are the General Executive Directors of Iowa State Dance Marathon this year. We're just going to speak a little bit about what Dance Marathon is and how we interact with the student body. So a little summary of who we are. We are the largest student-run philanthropy on campus. We raise money for University of Iowa Children's Hospital through the Children's Miracle Network. And the way we raise funds and awareness are through different events that we put on through the year. We were just at the Visha event, and we have a lot of different events like that. And we also recruit a lot of student participants throughout the year to pledge to raise a certain amount of money. In January, we have an event that's 15 hours long, and the students who raise a certain amount of money, this year's $250, attend our event, and we just celebrate life and celebrate the kids we're supporting. All of our events throughout the year focus on the kids that are treated at the University of Iowa Children's Hospital, and they're often invited to the events. We put on events separately for the families to focus on the kids. And so that's our main purpose, is to raise funds and awareness for the kids at this hospital.
With that, we are always experiencing growth with Dance Marathon. This last year, we hosted about 950 students at our big event, and we're hoping to break 1,000 this year. We recruit even more than that, and then invite everybody that has, like Anna said, that has raised their money to our big event. We're always trying new things, whether we had opportunities with Visha this last year that we've never done before, and we were very successful with that, and very grateful with the options that were given to us and the opportunities that were afforded to us. We are doing a new event this fall, hopefully. We are currently in the process of getting everything approved for what we would call a glow run. So everybody's heard of the color run kind of event. And then this one will be more, it'll be later in the night, not that late, 9 or 10. And it'll be neon and glow lights and strobe lights and black lights and everything like that. And there'll be 1K markers, I suppose, because it'll be a 5K. So we're really hoping to promote that very well this coming fall and over the summer, and getting everything approved to work with that. Some of the other things we do mini marathons, so we are not only recruiting at Iowa State and influencing Iowa State students, but we are also promoting awareness throughout the Ames community and throughout Iowa even. We had one in Tri-Center, which is in Neola, Iowa, for anybody that is familiar with that. It's about 20 miles from the western border of Iowa, so we're reaching as far as each coast, or each border of Iowa, yeah, because we're so surrounded by water. We have done Oskaloosa, we've done Roland City, we've done Dallas Center Grimes, and everything has been very successful. Each mini marathon raises that money and donates it to our total board that is released at the end of our big event in January. And so we really get the opportunity to promote Dance Marathon to those high school students, and hope that if by chance they do come to Iowa State, that they already have that connection with Dance Marathon, and that we continue to raise those funds for those amazing miracle kids that we get to interact with at all of our different events. We are also working on promoting Extra Life, and it is a 15-hour gaming event, so kind of a different take on Dance Marathon. We will rent out a majority of the ground level of Power Hall, and we'll have a whole slew of gaming consoles and different entertainment options there, and so hoping to kind of touch base with a different side of the Dance Marathon community and reach out to even more students at campus, excuse me. And then throughout the year we host different fundraising activities. So at the tailgates during the football games, you'll see us walking around with, we call them cans, but they're just little plastic buckets, and we introduce what Dance Marathon is to people and ask them if they'd like to make donations, and those go to those dancers' individual fundraising accounts. So that gives them an opportunity to reach their total so that they can make it to the event and be fully involved with Dance Marathon.
And there are a lot of ways students can get involved. We have a 200-person committee that coordinates all these events and the logistics and everything behind everything for the whole year. And that's headed by a 15-person executive committee. And then students can get involved in a wide range of options. They can simply raise $250 and attend the one-day event in January, or they're able to attend any of the events we just listed, the canning, the mini marathons, the color run, or the glow run that we're going to do, Visha. They're invited to attend all of those things as well. So,
something that's really neat to me is that we get an opportunity to really see the impact that we make with our fundraising. We have families constantly involved with our events and our raising awareness and everything. During the Visha parade, we had probably 7 to 9 families, and so probably 30 family members between siblings and parents. And so we get the opportunity for students to really interact with those family members and see what their money goes to. We have anything as young as like Blake Burdorf, one of our Miracle kids, turned 2 a couple weeks ago, and it goes all the way up to we now have a Miracle kid on one of our committees, so it kind of comes full circle, and it's really neat to see.
Does anyone have any questions for us?
Senator Turtle?
Matters, figures?
You may.
How many members do you have in your organization?
The total committee, including the exec, is 200 members. And then for the day of the event last year, we had around 979 participants. That's beyond the exec and committee. And then we also have additionally some community members that get involved, and families aren't counted in that number, so quite a few people.
Senator Neat?
Just speakers.
You may.
For your gaming event that you're having next fall, I know that can be kind of daunting to organize something like that. Have you contacted, or do you know about the Game Renegades? It's an organization on campus. Have you contacted them to work with them at all?
Yeah, we actually did an Extra Life event this past October. Last October was our first year doing it, and we worked with the Game Renegades quite a bit. They were great to work with.
Okay,
So.
I just want to make sure you know those out. Sounds great.
Yeah, we'll probably be in contact with them again this year.
Yep.
Speaker Williams?
I just want to thank you guys so much for coming out. It's always a fabulous event. It sounds like you guys are very busy throughout the whole year. It's not just the one event. And it's great. You touched on this a little bit. I'm really glad you have the families involved. I think that's one of the most important pieces of making anything successful. But do you guys have anything that allows the participants to kind of stay in contact with the kids that they hang out with during the event? I haven't participated. I will this year. But you can hold me to that too. And but I hear that it's just a wonderful experience, and you really connect with the kids. And so, if you have any programs afterwards,
That's a great question. After the event, that's when we begin recruiting for the next year. So one way people that really connected at the event, that they continue to connect with the Dance Marathon is by joining a committee. And so that's one way to keep contact with those families, is by being on the committee and continually having contact with them. Also, if you contact us and ask for the family's contact information, we love to have students interact with families, and the families love to have students interact with them also and get to know the students. So there's different ways.
I suppose it's kind of contingent on the initiative that the student would take. I came up for the beginning of the year to Ames, and then on my way home, my Miracle kid was actually on my route home on I-80. And so I got the opportunity, I contacted her mother over Facebook and had gotten the opportunity to stop by her home and kind of see her home life and how accommodating her house was to her illness that she has was really something neat to see. So it kind of just depends on the initiative that's taken. It's nothing, it's not a big secret society or anything. That's definitely something that we're open to.
I guess I was just thinking about, like Valentine's Day, some of the kids are out in the community, going and stuff by their house and have people go out there and keep that connection going. But I'm obviously the families are there every year, so that's really exciting. Thank you so much.
And beyond the joining committee and taking initiative and meeting them, that's what we have like families events, and they're at mini marathons and they're at different events we hold throughout the year. So you can always come to different events we hold and see them also.
Senator Lund.
May I address the speakers?
You may.
I know a lot of other colleges have like dance marathons of their own. Do you know where Iowa State's group stands like in comparison to theirs? Like what kind of scale are we at?
We're in the top 10 for fundraising nationally.
There are 170 dance marathon programs in the country, and we're in the top 10. So I can't tell you which exact ranking we are, and they change as dance marathons raise more money. The rankings change, but top 10. So
You and I just had their event February was it, or somewhere around then. And we got the opportunity to attend their event during our executive retreat. And they just broke $100,000 this year, and it was their second year doing it. So, big strides.
Vice Speaker Snow. You may.
Thank you for coming out, guys. Really appreciate it. If you were sitting back here paying attention, you heard that we had a Meet Your Government Day here Monday, and that was a 3-hour event, and that was a pain in the butt. Organized. It was 3 hours. So I have a great deal of respect for what you all do over the course of the entire year to throw several events and one giant one. I can only imagine what kind of a pain in the butt that is for you. So keep doing the good work that you're doing. I think the dance marathon is such a big part of student life. That dance marathon is kind of synonymous with being a cyclone. So good job on that, guys. You mentioned that you have a Miracle kid on your, is that correct?
Yes.
Are they college age?
Yep, he is a sophomore in college.
Awesome. What's his name?
JT High.
That's fantastic. That's the only question I had. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Are there any further questions for our speakers? With that, let's give them a round of applause.
And we just want to thank you guys too. You guys obviously support us in everything that we do, and so we want to thank you for that. And like we said, if anybody is interested in joining us in our fundraising efforts, our registration is now open and can be found on our website. If you just do the index and dance marathon.
We're going to do it.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Awesome. I think the government and student body even has a team. Yeah, when you go to register.
Thank you
so much. Thank you guys.
With that, we're moving into open forum, which is open discussion for issues relevant to students. Speaker Williams.
I would just like to ask the consent of the Senate to amend the agenda to how it's seen up at the screen. I was looking over the agenda today, and I just kind of, these are all mostly new bills, so I just kind of put them up there, but I realized that the order should probably be a little bit different. So up there is KURE Fest, funding, Trap and Ski Club, Performing Arts, Committee on Lectures Carryover, Bike Pump Carryover, and StuOrg database rewrite. And so that way we'll just kind of get some of our external affairs done, and then we'll go more into internal affairs. So if everyone's okay with that.
Are there any objections to that? Okay, then we're going to move forward with that. Are there any other issues for open forum? Okay. With that, we'll move to special orders. We're now on Senate Order 2013-1-010.
at-large student member of the Memorial Union Board of Directors. Whereas, by way of executive order, President Hughes has nominated Kyrie Fitton to serve as an at-large student member of the Memorial Board of Directors, Memorial Union Board of Directors. And whereas this nomination requires Senate confirmation, be it therefore ordered that Mr. Fitton be confirmed as an at-large student member of the Memorial Union Board of Directors, and be it therefore ordered that Mr. Fitton immediately assumes all rights and responsibilities of the position as delineated in government law.
Question, please.
So the Memorial Union Board of Directors has 5 representatives from GSB on it. One of them is the president. The other 4 are presidential appointees. One currently is Speaker Williams, who will be serving her 2nd year of a 2-year term. There's also, we will be addressing any potential additional openings in the fall, but Senator Fitton contacted myself and Vice President Clutcher early and with his interest, and we know that he will attend all the meetings and serve zealously, and he will he'll do all the work. We know that, so we have full confidence in him. I'll turn it over to Senator Fitton.
I want to thank President Hughes once again for his remarks. Just to follow up on that, I'm a little bit shorter first and foremost. I did send my committee assignment request to President Hughes and Vice President Clutcher the day of inauguration. This is something I really wanted to be involved with. Seeing as my service, I serve on the Student Affairs Advisory Committee, which deals specifically with the NU budget, and I'm a member of the Committee on Lectures, which primarily holds lecture events in the Memorial Union as well. So I think I bring that experience and that partially with me living in Dub Sauce with half of the rest of you. So I think I'll yield to any questions at this time.
Senator Bowers. You may.
Senator Fitton, I know that you're heavily involved in many things across campus, and many of those within GSB. Can you explain how you're going to balance this and give 120% to all these commitments?
I guess, could you rephrase that in a more specific manner?
I mean, you're in a lot of stuff on campus, and I just want to make sure that you're not stretching yourself too thin by adding something else. I know you'd be great on this committee. I'm just a little hesitant that you're going to be stretching yourself too thin, so can you just kind of explain how you...
Absolutely. I mentioned at the Finance Committee seatings last week that I'd made many sacrifices to my involvement in GSB and other organizations. And I think as a freshman, and many of you in this room who are familiar with me are aware, there's always that eagerness to be involved and get involved and say yes to everything. And I noticed with my time this past semester, I've had to say no. So that's something I've become a little accustomed to. I don't enjoy it each time, but I'm well aware of my limits. So.
Senator Herman.
On the same line, do you think you're going to have more or less commitments than you did this current spring by adding this?
Well, I'll have more commitments this coming fall, yes, but this specifically wouldn't be, I guess, abstractly, I guess it would add to that, but that's something I personally evaluated when I asked for this committee assignment, and I'm evaluating as we go into next semester.
Speaker Williams.
Yeah, I've served on this committee for the past year, and the meetings are about once a month, and then a lot of you have to serve another committee on there, and a student advisory committee or a facilities committee or anything like that, and they usually meet once a month as well. So this isn't necessarily the biggest time commitment that you would have to make. It's not like our meetings where you weekly or anything like that. And so I think Senator Fitton would be fabulous for this position, and I think this isn't too bad of a commitment.
And if I may, real quick, I think, once again, I've shown sincere interest for this position. I've obviously been on Senate for some time, and I've spoken with Richard many times about issues, even simple things as employees who might be smoking in public areas where it's not allowed. I think I bring a lot of concern and passion to this position as well. And once again, I ask the Senate to defer to me on my personal judgments on my time. We're all students first, but this is one of my great priorities as a student at Iowa State.
Are there any further questions for nominees? For nominees, sorry. Question has been called and seconded. We will now.
I object.
We will now vote on this bill. Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni.
Yes.
Breitbart.
Yes.
Brody. Birch.
Yes.
Byron. Clark.
Yes.
Please limit side conversations so I can hear. Thank you. Doherty.
Yes.
Pisek.
Yes.
Fitton.
Abstain.
Gallagher.
Yes.
Herman.
Abstain.
Johnson. Yes. Kaufman.
Yes.
Hensler.
Abstain.
Kearns.
Yes.
Nee.
Yes.
Lund.
Yes.
Merle.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Plettenberg.
Yes.
Rhodes. Snell.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Voss. Walsh.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Getley.
Yes.
By a vote of 28 to 0 to 3, this passes. And with that, we will move into general orders. We are now on Senate Bill 2013-1-003F, KURE.
Title, KURE, parentheses, B-Fest, curating unbelievably rad entertainment for every student to enjoy. As soon as they get to the podium, I'll just refer to this one.
Hello all, I'm Marcia Hillman. I'm the general manager of KURE. Some of you probably are familiar with seeing me. Some of you are new faces, so I'll give you guys the general spiel. We are the campus radio station for Iowa State. We operate from our studios in the basement of Riley Hall, and our transmitter is on the top of Zafrano. We have a all volunteer staff, mostly made up of students. We have a few community members that are volunteer, that are members of the staff. And we are looking for funding for KURE Fest, a festival of concerts that we've hosted for the past couple years. They've been very successful in the past. Previously, we had one, I think last year, attendance, it was tough to say exactly what attendance was because it was open to the public and free to come and go as you please, but we had estimates of about 3,000 people come to the concert. So we're looking at this coming fall, the middle of October for the time frame, and as you can see, we're approaching both GSB and IRHA, as we know, for funding. I guess I didn't mention before, but it's obviously open to the public, so it's free to all students, and then also staff members. Community members. I guess that's the gist of it.
Also, I'm also Melissa Sherritt. I'm the KURE Fest director. And just to mention, the bill up there, it's been revised. Yeah, and just because originally we were going to have it in the Great Hall and the M Shop, but after talking to the Great Hall, they had absolutely no availability for next fall. So it'll only be held in the M Shop.
Are there questions or discussion? Senator Turhall?
May I address the speakers?
You may.
You mentioned a venue change. Is that going to reflect your budget at all?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. It was amended in Finance Committee. I didn't know.
As the point of information, the Finance Committee amendment will be proposed.
Okay, thank you.
Speaker Williams.
At this time, I'd like to propose the Finance Committee amendment that will be up on
And
Basically,
basically,
information to the chair, can you inform us what the finance committee amendment is?
The amendment will change the GSB total from $8,000 to $6,100. We're going to let Speaker Williams work on that. With that, we are on discussion of the amendment. So, discussion of the amendment. Senator Fitton.
Question. Second.
My question is just kind of related to this.
All of
Okay. Senator Johnson.
I was just wondering, again, I don't know if this is too weird, but I know last year you guys held on the South Clifton lawn, and that was a wonderful venue. I was just wondering what the reason for the change was.
Basically, we're kind of behind schedule. Previously, last year, there were several unforeseen events that caused us to get behind this semester in planning, and that's why we're we're a little behind. And so logistically, it's easier to do a smaller event. Also, Melissa's taking over as director, and I can't personally take on the responsibility of all planning it, and since she has not done it before, we're kind of moving back to a smaller venue.
Yeah. Also, with that, Darren Hushak was the director for last year. He has a tremendous amount of connections, like set at the stage, that made it a lot cheaper for us. Whereas if I took on that, it would probably be a lot more expensive. Yeah, so it probably wouldn't have been worth it. But
Senator Byro.
Should I get a point of clarification from someone on Finance Committee whether from the finance memo is it supposed to be it enacted that 4,100, or is that supposed to reflect?
Senator Fitton.
the enacted clause in the Finance Committee will be part of the amendment.
Then there's a discrepancy between the GSB column in the amendment and what you're doing. Because on the memo, it has it 4,100, which is the IRA column.
If you'll forgive the finance director, he was checking the memo really quickly.
So we make a friendly to that.
Senator Fitton.
At this time, I'll move to amend the amendment to reflect the 6,100 of the enacted clause.
At this time, we are on discussion of the amendment to the amendment, which will change the enacted clause to reflect the overall total. So it now says 6,100 in the enacted clause. Question has been called, second DC has been called. Are there any objections to UC? That passes. We're now back on discussion of the amendment as a whole. Senator Fitton. Okay. Questions been called and seconded. Are there any objections to UC? This passes. The amendment. We're back on discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Nee. Yes, we may.
Do you have your current account totals for us?
Yes, they're in the finance memo. Those are
Okay.
Senator Benjamin.
I'd just like to repeat how much I appreciate what Taylor does. Actually, I didn't drop my show to be on GSB. And I mean, I'm hoping to do it again next semester. But I just wanted to extend my thanks and appreciation to them for all they do. And I know that they appreciate how much, or what we do for them. I mean, as I had to read, they read it everything. It says, KURE is funded by the government and the student body. You can attend meetings Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. All that. And I actually went to KURE Fest last year. It was wonderful. RDG2 was great, and I would look forward to whatever you bring to KURE Fest this year.
Senator Doherty.
How many local acts are you looking to book for this year?
we're thinking about 5 or 6, and then one headliner, and then possibly a regional. But I was actually talking to a band, Yellow Ostrich, today, and we're thinking of possibly doing a package deal or something with them. So depending on how much funding we get, that'll determine the band. But definitely around 5 local, and then 1 headliner.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Senator Turhall.
I just like to speak briefly about the event. Actually, I went last year, but before you do that, I'd like to thank Carryover for all you guys do. This is great, so good work there. But I'd actually go to the event because RHA funded it, and I wanted to see what they were doing. They did a great job advertising and all that. All the sponsors were right there. All the names were read off constantly. The sponsorship, running the event, can't complain at all. I do have a concern with the attendance. I stayed for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and I noticed there weren't a lot of students there, so I can't speak for other times when I wasn't there, but it seemed like a very much an older crowd that didn't really appear to be college students. So it's something to consider when considering them.
Question.
The question has been called and seconded. We will now move to voting on this bill. Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni.
Yes.
Breitbart.
Yes.
Brody.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Spyro.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Peaset.
Yes.
Fitton.
Yes.
Gallagher.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Hensler.
Yes.
Kearns. Meade.
Yes.
Lund.
Yes.
Merle.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Plettenberg.
Yes.
Rhodes. Snell.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Ross.
Abstain.
Walsh.
Yes.
Williams. Wilson.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Getley.
Yes.
By a vote of 31 to 0 to 1, this passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we are on Senate Bill 2013-1-006F, funding Trap and Skeet Club.
All right, Senate Bill 2013-1-006F, line item transfer request for the Iowa State Trap and Skeet Club. Whereas the Iowa State Trap and Skeet Club no longer has equipment that requires repair, and whereas the Iowa State Trap and Skeet Club require competition entry fees, be it therefore enacted that $500 be retained by the Iowa State Trap and Skeet Club pursuant to the following budget. We'll turn it to Drew here.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll turn it over to Drew Miller.
Good evening. Very simply, as it says, we're just asking that $500 that GSB allocated to us at the SCC meeting, the budget hearing in the fall of last year, or the spring of last year, to be transferred from equipment repair and maintenance to our competition entry fees. We are simply, that's pretty much it, just asking $500 line item transfer.
Senator Fitton.
Question. How much is the total cost of your competition entry fee?
We budgeted $9,000, and so far this year we've spent $8,500.
For this, so for this specific event, can you tell me the amount that the entry fee is for the club?
Yes, this is for ACUI Nationals. The entry fee was $325 a person, and we budgeted $120 a person. So it was an unforeseen raise in the entry fee for this particular event. And in that $120, we asked GSB, we sent 5 people, totaling $600, and we asked GSB for $450. So you gave us $450, entry fees were $325 a person, so there's obviously a big gap there that we're trying to fill.
How many people are going to this competition?
5 people went, it has happened already.
Has it happened already?
It has happened, yes sir. It happened in March.
Okay, I will yield to the finance director.
Step out of the room.
Okay.
He's coming back. Hold on.
You're on the spot. What's the question?
Senator Fitton.
We were just informed by the group that the event already happened, correct?
Yes, sir.
The entry fees have already been paid.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll yield to the finance director at this time.
This is for the track and speed club.
Correct. What are you yielding to me?
To explain the process,
Oh, the fact that we don't typically reimburse?
correct.
Okay. Well, precedent says that we do not typically reimburse for things that happen in the past. It's basic accounting here at Iowa State, at the student organization accounting office. The student organization accounting office typically does not like reimbursements to be done in general, and this is kind of an extension of that practice. That GSB has not done that when it comes to student organizations. So.
Senator Lee.
Okay, so just to kind of explain what happened, once again, this money we've already allocated them. It was just for something that they couldn't use. The reason there was this discrepancy was the treasurer for the club at the time used the wrong amount when they initially requested funding. So it's not specifically, it was just a mistake that the group made. It's not like they spent all this money and now they're coming to us and saying, oh, we need help. It was a mistake. It should have been the $325 from the beginning that they asked for. Because of the mistake of the treasurer of the club, they only got $120, and because of that mistake, the group was then under budget, or over budget, excuse me, and so this money would just be transferred to their events competition account to help them meet the budget so they don't have to go into debt and all that stuff. It's money we've already given them, money we've already allocated to the club, so I don't really have a problem with it. It's not like they went into debt and now they're coming back to us and asking, hey, pay for this. It was just a mistake that they made, and it's still in this fiscal year, and we've already given them the money. So I don't have a problem with it. I'd rather have it go to the competition and help them out because a simple mistake was made, rather than having it just sit there and be used to repair something that doesn't even exist anymore.
In June, it will return to the GSB if we don't use it.
Senator Turhall.
Mr. Speaker,
You may.
how did the club finance the event if it already happened? Did club members pay for themselves?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Fitton. Senator Kanzler.
I'm going to have to, I guess, I see where Senator Fitton is coming from, or the fact that we don't fund things that have already happened. But the way I kind of see it right now, I'm leaning more towards Senator Nee. Essentially, if we don't pass this, and I think there's a good chance this group could find financial hardships in the future, they'd come back to us for a debt contract anyway. I'd rather not see that happen. I'd rather just see them use the money that we've already allocated. So I urge you to vote in favor of this.
Senator Littler.
I'm just going to ask a question. Is this a line item transfer or is this a carryover request?
This is a line item transfer request.
The reads the enacted kind of great.
Line item transfer. Vice Speaker Snell.
Okay, Will the finance director yield to a question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify for a bit, then. They've already been given this money, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now what they're trying to do is change what the money used to be for competition, correct? So they can use it for competition.
This is a line item transfer request.
Correct. Okay. And may I address the group? Now, if we transfer this $500 for purposes of competition, you will use it for competition entry fees in the future, correct?
We will, the way that it is right now, the account has a deficit that the students are making up, and it will simply just go to repair that deficit and send the money back to the students that we have paid ourselves.
Okay. Just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Senator Fitton.
All right. I had previous objections to doing this last week, obviously, which we didn't around. So the entire cost for the group was more than $1,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the amount is no problem with me. But I will say, in opposition to Senators Lee and Kinsler, this is essentially funding debt. And we do not fund debt, as Senator Lee has reminded us many times before. We don't fund debt. We don't do it because every other group we fund it for. So at this point, I can't see. I won't speak for the committee, but had this gone to finance committee, I don't see how this could come out favorably. We do not fund
Senate has already allocated some money to this competition fund.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that correct, did you say?
Yes.
But a smaller amount. So I actually I don't know if this $500, I mean, has anyone done all that? Or looked at some of that?
I didn't hear your question exactly.
We have, this isn't the first $500 we're putting in this specific line item. We're already funded $120 per person.
120 per person, yes, sir. $450 total.
So so really this 500 in addition would bring our total up to 900
I'm sorry, that may be a little confusing. The entry fees per person were $120. We simply asked GSB for $450. We didn't ask them for the full $120 a person.
Okay, so we've already given you $450 for this. So now if you add this, that would be $950 and we will have allocated to this.
Yes, sir.
And that I do believe is then over half of the state. So I do believe that I would agree with all of what Senator Fitton said about retroactively funding events or funding debt. That is a bad practice, and I would, if that's been the precedent, especially, I would really encourage people not to go for this on that basis alone. But I do think that we do a math problem as well.
Speaker Williams.
I'd have to disagree about the debt. They're not coming and asking us to pay what they didn't pay. They actually already have this in their account, and they just, the way that our finance works, they have to have line items, so they can only spend their budget on each line item. So all they have right now is just kind of in the wrong account. This money has already been allocated to them. This is already their money. They just are abiding by our rules and spending it in a way that we know about. So really, it's just transferring to a different account. It might, yeah. So I understand the financial concerns, but this is still their money that they've been allocated. They would just like to abide by our rules and use it in a different account so they can do what they need to. So this is still their money. It's not them coming in for debt.
That's correct. Thank you, Speaker.
Senator
Rubio.
Senator Benzoni.
In your opinion, would this set a precedent at all?
One more time.
In your opinion, would this set a precedent at all?
I don't think that's necessarily for me to judge. However, I guess if you'd like me to speak on what we're talking about, the allocation that they're talking about is actually not done directly by GSB, but rather by Sports Club Council. And for those of you who know about the funding processes, the strictest one in Iowa State is Sports Club Council's allocation process. You think our rules are pretty stringent. Sports Club Council goes even further than we do. And so I guess I will let any finance committee member who's familiar with the process have the point that could be made from that jumping off. But there are a couple of comments that could be made from there. Overall, though, this issue would typically be done in finance committee. Had we had a finance committee when this bill was written, if this were half a cent less, I could have approved this request based on the bylaws. So take that as you will.
And then I would just like to, I guess, voice this to everyone. And I was just wondering if anyone has an idea of a way we can fund this without setting a precedent of funding debt. I would certainly be very much open to such a
Yes.
All right. The two things I want to touch on, and then I'm going to Senator Herman for a question. Speaker Williams said that this is already their money and that it's staying in their account. The money on this board was, the $500 was allocated for a specific piece of equipment that would be owned by GSB had it been purchased at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong, that it was bought for maintenance of guns. Okay, so those guns don't belong to GSB, whereas they're not maintained at this time. So this money wasn't meant for the specific purpose that the group is coming here for today. Had it went towards maintenance of those guns, The money would be gone, the group would have outspent themselves on their competition fees, and would be therefore in debt. That is a similar situation I see us in here today. The money they are seeking is not one which they were allocated for. And I do firmly believe this would be setting a precedent for finance and for this body, and I strongly oppose approving this request today. And to prove my points on finance once again, because this was under the purview, had this bill come to finance committee, I do strongly believe it would have failed when it comes to this body, for the specific reasons that we have Senator Lee's and Kinsler sometimes who move away from precedent. I will yield to Senator Herman to ask whether he would vote yes or no on this request had it come to finance committee.
No.
So with that being said, that this request would not have passed the finance committee, this would not have come to this body, and they would be in debt, and they can come back to us with a debt contract for the next fiscal year. I understand it's hard on your part. I understand that wholeheartedly. But from our perspective, that does set a bad precedent where if any other group had fees that they did not expect when they were traveling, and they overspent that, and they had a deficit, they would come here with a bill asking us to make up the difference on that, and that would be funding debt in any other circumstance. So with that, once again, I oppose this bill, and I yield.
Senator Sherman.
I just want to clarify my remarks. I don't really particularly personally have a problem with line item transfers, but since the event has already occurred, it would be funding debt, and I don't like that. I mean, we've seen probably a half a dozen debt contracts in the last, I don't know, 2 months. Unfortunately, it's the norm, but it's the way that we go about following rules. And rules are there to be followed, and if we don't follow the rules, there's no point in having them. So it is an unfortunate situation. But yeah, like Senator Fitton said, if it would have came into finance, I would have voted no, knowing that it would have been on the base of funding debt. I yield.
Senator Reed.
Okay, so first of all, come back to Senator Brody's point. You said that they were eligible, or they had already gone over their amount that they were eligible for. The total amount that they would have been eligible for at the registration fee of $325 apiece would be $1,625. And just to give you an idea, this group, because they use firearms at their events, they aren't allowed to use any university vehicles. And so they have to go through special processes already with Sports Code Council. So because of that, they're eligible for 75% of their their registration fees, not 50%. And so using that figure, they're eligible for up to $1,200. And right now, even with the $500, they would only be asking for $900 of that $1,200 eligible. And so yeah, just to reiterate my previous point though, they've already been, let's not talk about hypotheticals and all this different stuff about whether or not they would have done this or something like that. We've already given them the money, and it's already sitting in their account, and it was funded for something that no longer exists. So we might as well just transfer it over to them and stop this group from going into debt. They currently aren't in debt. Debt will happen at the end. Their account has a deficit. It's short a certain amount, and this money will fix it. We've already given them the money. It's just sitting in the wrong line item. And it's pretty plain. Why don't we just transfer it, and it'll fix their entire budget, and they won't have to go through the headache of the debt contract process. It just makes no sense to me. But
Senator Johnson.
May I address the finance director?
You may.
Would it be in order, in light of concerns about precedent, to merely reduce the amount by a cent and then have you specifically transfer it?
That would fall to my purview whether I would approve it or not.
Exactly, but I mean, yeah. Or $1 or whatever.
I would say since you have it in front of you, you might as well make the decision yourself.
Speaker Williams.
May I address the finance director?
You may.
Would it be in order for us to amend this bill into the carryover request? I feel like that would be a lot of.
This is actually the bill form of the carryover request.
Correct.
These do exist, and you've seen a couple, and you'll see a couple more tonight.
Yep.
A carryover request? You're asking, not a line item transfer?
No. Well, yeah. Well, can we do a line item and carryover? I guess that would make more
possible to do both.
So then would you know then that if they came back for another event, that they would already have that in their account for next year, so then we would make the adjustments as next year would happen?
Okay, one more time on that one.
So, okay, if we make this a line item transfer, and so then it would go into your, to their, their competition entry fees, and if this was a carryover request, so this would be for next year, so they would still, well, I guess. Never mind. I was trying to think it through with you. Finance Director, what is your opinion on this bill, and if it was in your purview to pass it or not, would you do such a thing? Are you at?
So the thing about this line item transfer is that these are items that no longer exist, and I recognize that. Student organizations are funded by Sports Club Council in a manner that is really different than we fund every other organization for travel in Iowa State. And so I'm hesitant not looking at their budget. I haven't looked at their budget in depth because I wasn't doing the research to make this decision. But I would be very wary of granting it because of the way that Sports Club Council does their job so thoroughly. That I usually defer to Sports Club Council's allocation, and changes to that would seem, I guess, steps out of the norm.
Senator Burns.
Call the question.
Second.
Question has been called and seconded. We're now voting on this bill. Bauer.
No.
Benzoni. Breitbart.
Yes.
Brody.
No.
Birch. Biro.
No.
Clark.
Pass.
Doherty.
Pass.
Piesek.
Yes.
Fitton.
No.
Gallagher.
Yes.
Kerman.
No.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaufman.
No.
Kensler.
Yes.
Meade.
Yes.
Lund.
Yes.
Merle.
No.
Osborne.
No.
Peterson. Plantenberg.
No.
Rode. Snell.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Voss.
Pass.
Walsh.
Pass.
Williams.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Wolf.
No.
Yetley.
No.
Birch.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Rode. Voss.
Abstain.
Walsh.
Yes.
Did I miss anyone? By a vote of 19 to 12 to 1, this passes.
Thank you.
With that, we are on Senate Bill 2013-1-001F, Performing Arts Carryover Request. Primary officer.
Title, Performing Arts Council Carryover Request. I guess we debated this last week. I do have a number for those of you who were concerned. I talked to the former finance director.
gonna yield to a question from Senator Fitton. What did you say the amount was?
You can actually go look that up. I don't have, are for the request or for the actual entire budget?
The carryover.
20,000.
20,000.
Yep, and I want to note to the Senate as well, you can look up each of these budgets on the StuOrg database. The link is in your finance memos, and you'll go to GSB regular allocations for FY 2014, and you'll see what they got this year, and see that that doesn't make up the difference. I'll yield back to Senator Kinsler.
I think I have one more question for you. Can you explain I guess, I understood the descriptions, I looked at the budget earlier. The reason we fund performing arts is to give discounted ticket rates. Is that not correct?
Correct.
With that being said, can you explain why we're carrying over an amount that obviously there wasn't enough ticket sales to be discounted at the student rate? So I guess why would we be carrying that over?
First of all, that's a very good question. Second of all, I'll note that I was asked to write this bill as a former member of Finance Committee, once again by Finance Director at that time, Vanderbilt. So I can't give direct answers. All I will say once again is that this does make up for the difference that the group asked for in the next fiscal year allocations. No.
I guess I'm just a little, I understand Senator Finn doesn't have all the answers. I don't expect him to. But I just don't understand, with this it's a little unique because of the fact that what we fund is give discount ticket rates, and if we have more money left over, that means, in my opinion, I view that as we didn't have enough ticket sales, I guess, to give the discount rate. Maybe I'm missing something, but I'll yield.
Senator Byro.
I would just like to make a note to the Senate that with the figure of 20,000 carrying over, that means they used 65,000 last year, and that is well under what we allocated them this year at 76,000.
Senator Herman.
Yeah, that was one of the points I'd like to make, and I guess I didn't quite catch all of what Senator Kinsler was saying, so if I... Well, yeah, I mean, the point I want to make is we're allowing groups to carry over a tremendous amount of money. And as President Hughes mentioned in his address, a funding overhaul is something that we seriously want to look at this summer and then going into the fall term. And I think this is something that's going to be hit on very hard is requests to carry over. And I understand that they took a large hit this year, and by giving them this funding, it would be giving them normative levels. But I find this to be quite different than something like committee on lectures, where they get groups canceled and then they get this funding back to reschedule another time. Like Senator Kinsler said, this funding is to fund the costumes, the programs, and then for discount ticket rates. There's no reason that they're canceling these shows, and they're going to do another one this year. The fact of the matter is they just have money left over. And I don't think it's smart to just give this back to this one particular group. I think it's money that should be distributed out among the various student groups that took an extremely hard hit this year in funding.
Senator Fitton.
All right. I want to mention again, I don't have all the details on this budget to the Senate. Excuse me if I made some factual errors, but I think either of us will know. I want to reiterate once again that this does make up for the group's allocation for the next fiscal year. I want to further reiterate that Senator Herman was there. We had a member of the group present during our allocations meeting in February, March. It was February. And the member of the group said that Performing Arts Council takes on an operating cost in providing these discounts to students. So that means it costs them more than we give them to give the discount to each and every student who partakes in viewing each of these things. So logic would lead me to believe that this year, this past fiscal year, that they took on more operating expenses than we gave them for the money, and that's why we had this carryover with us. Furthermore, that means that in the next fiscal year, if we do not pass this carryover request, that they will take on, once again, more of an operating cost of providing that discount to students in the next fiscal year. I first of all think that is fiscally irresponsible because this group is already providing the service to us, and then we're trying to provide service to students, and I think it's a strained relationship we have with them in the future. Furthermore, I want to reiterate once again, it has been precedent of the Senate many times, many years before many of the people sitting at this table were here, that carryover requests routinely go through this body, and more often than not, without any dissent. I don't think the current fiscal situation lends any difference to that precedent that we have in the Senate. I think we have budgeted for a fiscal year. We have seen a routine request come here at the full faith of the group that presented the request. And so lastly, we're going to hear once again from Senator Sermon how our situation has changed. That very well may be true, but that is not true currently for the group and the money that they had in the faith in bringing this bill forward. We're going to have that overall. We're going to have a discussion as a body, as a finance committee. But that's not to put this group, leaving them in the balance of something that's going to happen in the future. Just saying, we need your money now because we need to figure our stuff out for use of that information. So I would strongly urge the body to pass this bill. And I do.
Senator Rhodes. You may. Finance Director Radisky, we have a question.
Okay.
Where would the funds be transferred if we do not support the bill?
So at the end of the fiscal year, what happens to all unspent funds that are not being carried over is that they are reclaimed. They end up in the capital projects account of GSB.
Senator Byro.
May I address Senator Fitton? There you go.
You may.
I see a flaw with your argument because you're saying that they experienced more costs this year, but then why do they have money to carry over if they experience more costs?
If I may answer the question, I didn't say necessarily that they experienced more costs, as in they took on the cost of the social value tickets to students. So instead of using GSB, I don't know the answer to this first and foremost, but I'm trying to use logic here. That instead of taking the GSB money to supplement the discounts, the group took on the cost themselves, and that's why we have leftover money.
Well, then I feel like they should fix that themselves, that they're taking on the cost themselves instead of using the money we allocated to them. I understand your
Senator Herman.
If you look at their budget on OFPT right now, and their big description, because they get one line item for $76,000, which is really nice for them. 11% of total tickets went to students. 11%. That's a lot for $76,000. The other point I'd like to make, and this is, sorry to the chair, this is a little bit off of this particular bill, so don't call me out on this, but the one thing you're going to want to take into consideration with this, and Senator Rhodes brought this up, is that if we don't give this carryover request, the money goes into capital projects, and later tonight we are going to see a very nice bill on StuOrg database rewrite, and this money would almost cover the entire bill. So all I'm trying to say that is when you're thinking about this, our state of our capital projects is low, so this money is either going to go back to us to spend on capital projects, or it's going to carry over. So that's the thing I want in the back of your minds also while you're voting on this. Don't think just so short-sightedly about this bill.
Senator Kessler.
I got to give credit to Senator Fitton, he read my mind. I do believe that we are in a little bit of a unique situation. I don't think it makes any sense at all to do things the same way, realize there's a problem, and then continue to do things the same way. So while in the past I do believe that these have gone rather undebated and passed, I think that we do need to make a change. As Senator Herman said, their budget for this year says 11% of the total ticket sales. I looked at last year's and previous years, and it's going down. Last year it was 20% of the ticket sales were students. This year it's 11%. Yet we still keep funding them $85,000, $76,000, and they keep having carryover requests. So I would strongly urge a no vote because we're giving them relatively the same amount of money. Their percentage of student population that's buying those tickets is going down, and we keep seeing carryover requests from them. So it just doesn't make sense to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results, I guess.
Senator Peterson.
To expand on what Senator Byro said, I don't understand where the taking on the cost is coming from. They budgeted for a $9,000, like, if you look at their 2013 fiscal year budget, they budgeted for a $9,500 deficit after they taken on costs, and yet they came out $20,000 on top. I don't understand where taking on any cost is coming from. I don't understand.
Senator Murrow.
Yeah, I apologize if I kind of repeat anything, but I just want to share my perspective on this. I kind of agree with Senator Byro. It doesn't really make any sense for them to choose to take on costs when they have money funding them. But I also want to disagree with Senator Herman, and I do think we should consider our accounts, and we should know that we have things coming up for the capital projects account, but I don't think it's fair to a group to say, no, we're not going to give you this money because we want to save it and bring it over to capital projects.
Senator Brody.
Yeah, I would agree with Senator Merle that, looking at what else we do with the money, I think that we have to address this bill on its merit without those kind of external considerations. I feel like that's the only way to counter and address each student group. But so this, I just wanted to clarify. So this group has asked for another budget that we've granted them, and so they're asking to add this to the budget. So essentially, they came in under what but they took a big hit out of the budget that they requested this year, and this would be kind of bringing it back to maybe the budget that resulted in them having like 20,000 extra. Am I clear on that, or is anyone get the budget up like
I have the budget up right now. Last year, 2012, 2013, they requested $95,000. We gave them $85,500. This year, they requested $95,000. We gave them $76,000. So by giving them this $20,000 back, they will be getting more than they actually requested in an increase from the previous year.
Finance Director.
Kind of to piggyback off that point, do any of the new senators know how to get to the budgets? It was explained. Okay, because I had somebody who just needed help. So has everyone gotten to them that wanted to get help? Okay. Okay. So address bar in the web browser, SODB .StuOrg STUORG .iastate.edu /OFP2. And then if you're not logged in, you can go ahead and hit enter. If you're not logged in, log in. And then go to the bottom of the page. And it'll say, I believe it says GSB regular allocation cycle 2014, fiscal year 2014. And then you search for performing arts to get to this budget. And then it will be the first one listed. So as you can see it on the screen, it's at the bottom of the page. Right there at the bottom of the list. And then you say view other organizations' budgets, and then you search for it.
Finance Director, the floor is still yours.
Okay, does everyone have it that wanted it? Fantastic, glad I could help. If you have any more questions for me, I'll be back here.
Senator Fitness.
I want to note a couple things that I believe I misspoke on. First of all, when I said we have routine carryover requests, and that they go without dissent every year. I was not speaking to this specific group. I was actually speaking, you can go through Legislative and see it yourself. There's been specifically in the past 3 or 4 years for lectures and VSHO specifically. These have gone through routinely. For this group, this is the first year. Once again, I can't explain the circumstances, but I will note to the Senate. I think Senator Herman brings up a good point that this would be more than their request, and that's something to consider. I'd be okay with changing the amount. But going back, that they have an operating expense, even with what we give them. Senator Herman knows this is true. We heard it from the group themselves at their regular allocations meeting. So that means whatever we don't fund them, that they will be taking on as an organization, the cost cost of that and providing the discount to students. I think that trumps any other consideration we have in this conversation when we go into a partnership with this group to discount rates for students as a service of our body, GSB. But we're saying, we don't want to discount it so much. You can take it on. You can spend money for student services. And I don't think that's fair to the group. So that's the only consideration I have. I think it was very inappropriate for Senator Carmen to say that we should consider, once again, it's an original argument I fought against. We want this money. We're really greedy right now. We need it so bad. Let's take it back. I think that's very unfair to the group that's coming for the funding and this. So with that, I'll yield.
Senator Rhodes.
Move me down.
Senator Herman, you have filled 2 speaking privileges already, but Senator Herman.
The only 2 things I have to say
You have
on.
to ask.
Oh, no, screw it.
Point of information, how many speaking privileges did Senator Fitton have on discussing this bill?
He has used 2. So if he spoke again, would be Senator Rhodes. Okay. Vice Speaker Snow.
I would like to yield to Senator Herman if he wishes to speak again.
Thanks, Senator Snell. Vice Speaker Snell, I'd just like to say 2 things. We're funding tickets for 11% of the student body. Personally, I don't feel like that's a very good use of student fee money. The second thing I'd like to say,
Can I ask something?
Sure, go ahead.
11% of the student body, I think you said earlier it was 11% of the tickets purchased were for students.
Yeah, excuse me, 11% of the tickets purchased for students. Thank you. The second question that's not answered is, why are they spending their own money when they have a $20,000 carryover request? Did you ask me for a follow-up?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's my second question. I just failed to understand, I think, along with Senator Barrow. I think he mentioned it is, they have a $20,000 carryover request. Why are they spending their own money? I call, never mind, I don't call.
Okay, we will continue. I just want to note that from the perspective of here, you are very much speaking in circles as a body, and that's all I have to say about that. With that, Senator Rhodes. Senator Peterson.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off what Herman said, I know Senator wants to if you do the math, last year they took in roughly, if they had a $20,000 carry, they took in roughly $115,000. I don't think there's any reasonable assumption to show that that would decrease, especially to the point where they would actually be going negative. So I don't see this carryover plus at all in that position. They would be somehow going to reduce the savings from that $20,000 to even get a $95,000 plus.
Senator Wilson.
Okay, this is kind of conjecture here, which I think a lot of what we're doing is. But I think when he says they're operating at a loss when they use these discounted student tickets is if a show is sold out and a percentage of those tickets are for a student, like the theater is operating at a loss there. They're losing out on revenue. And I don't really understand the finance, how it works out well. But if these are for discounted student tickets only, they can't use that money to cover that separate cost. Again, that's conjecture, but.
Senator Murrow.
I would like to ask a specific question to Senator Fitton. So I just want to make sure I have this straight in my head. So we offered them, or gave them, allocated money to them, a specific amount in the budget to offset ticket prices and to do a few other things. Not all used, but I just want to know, how does that constitute us not fulfilling our obligation to them? How would that be imposing unfair burdens on them if we didn't approve the carryover? Yes.
I want to talk a little bit to what Senator Wilson said, but I'll answer the question first. Once again, what we give them does not cover the entire discount that they provide to students when they buy tickets. To answer your question specifically, so if you're offering, as Senator Wilson said, I think that's once again, we're trying to use logic to solve this problem. We don't have the full answer to it. But I think for anyone who had reservations, Senator Wilson raises a great point, that there are only so many seats in the theater, and that students aren't always the first ones to use those, so that the money they have to discount student prices is what we're seeing as a carryover request right now. And unless somebody can come up with a different theory to me, I guess that's what makes sense. So once again, if we didn't give them this money, that means what they were already taking on here as a operating cost for their organization, even after the $95,000 they requested, and we took that down to, as Senator Herman said, $75,000. That's $20,000 more that they're taking on as an operating cost if they provide the discount, the full $5. I don't know if it's $5, but the full discount to students. Anything that we don't give them, they're taking on each and every penny dollar as a discount that we're not giving them when they give that discount to students. Hope that was as clear as it could be. Once again, I don't have all the answers, but I do, to answer Senator Earl's question, find it irresponsible to provide less than we're already guaranteeing them when they're providing the service with us. Thank you.
Senator Rhodes.
So, I feel like we all have made our own opinions here. I think that we're going around in circles quite a bit. So let's, not to be rude or disrespectful, let's stop. And let's please, I would like to call the question.
Second.
Question has been called and seconded. Bauer.
No.
Benzoni.
No.
Breitbart. Brody.
Abstain.
Birch. Byro.
No.
Clark.
No.
Doherty.
No.
Cusack.
No.
Fitton.
Yes.
Gallagher.
Abstain.
Herman.
Nope.
Johnson. No. Kaufman.
No.
Kinsler.
No.
Me.
Pass.
Lund.
No.
Merle.
No.
Osborne.
No.
Peterson.
Nope.
Clantenberg.
No.
Rhodes. No. Snell.
No.
Swanson.
No.
Talon.
No.
Burkhall.
No.
Voss.
No.
Walsh.
No.
Williams. Wilson.
Yes.
Wolf.
No.
Getley.
No.
Birch.
No.
Sorry, Breitbart.
No.
Me.
No.
By a vote of 228-2, this fails. We're now on Senate Bill 2013-1-008F, Committee on Lectures Carryover Request.
Title, Committee on Lectures Carryover Request.
Senator Herman.
The group is here.
Oh.
I yield to the
Is that okay, Senator Herman?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll yield to the group. Please take the podium. You can have the podium, please.
Hi guys, my name's, sorry.
Breaking our stuff. I don't expect to see this money when you're breaking this stuff.
That is tight.
Oh, wow. I just told him.
Hi guys, my name's Abhishek Gavuri. I'm a kind of current co-chair of the Committee on Lectures, and current co-chair of the Committee on Lectures. And so I believe you have the bill text in front of you. And I just wanted to make kind of a quick comment pertaining to our carry forward. In years where we've had confirmed speakers for the fall, And we know we can bring them. We've been able to bring in quite a few really big names to the campus community, which have contributed quite a lot. So I'll just kind of go through some of the folks we brought in past years using the carry forward. This year we brought Bill Nye the Science Guy, which I'm sure all of you probably enjoyed, a lot of students on campus enjoyed. We brought the road tour of the Daily Show. Last year we brought a zombie writer, author of World War Z, Max Brooks. 2 years ago, sorry. I lose track of time. If you guys are familiar with Flight of the Conchords, we brought comedian Christian Shaw for Visha 2 years ago. And even last year, sorry. 2011, 2012. Last school year, sorry. And then years before that, we brought Amy Sedaris, who is David Sedaris' brother. She's a famous comedian. And even journalist Gwen Eiffel from PBS. So those funds have been we've used those to bring in some pretty big names that have been contributed a lot in terms of the lecture series, in terms of what students, how they can enhance their education out of state. So, any questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to draw the distinction between my vote on this carryover request and the last one. I personally support this one, and the reason being is on the committee on lectures, I heard him explain to us in finance regulars a couple months ago, that they'll book somebody and their price could go up, or they could cancel, or anything like that. And it's nice for them to have that fund, so that if somebody big comes up and has an open weekend, they have that money to say, yeah, we can book you and get you here. So personally, to me, I can support the carryover request versus the Performing Arts Council.
President Hughes.
I also want to speak on behalf of the group. I think I mentioned this at the executive update last week, but the level of funding provided for Committee on Lectures for fiscal year 14 is the lowest in the past 30 years of GSB, dating back to the 1980s. That's in real dollars, not inflation-adjusted dollars, so that's a significant issue for this organization if we expect them to continue to provide not even the same level of service, but a level of service that is remotely similar to what we've expected in the past. We have to fund them at a level that's more commensurate with what they have been getting, and this is an easy way to do so. So I would agree with Senator Herman's comments as well.
Oh, go ahead.
And along with that, I just add, the carry forward has been something that in the past 10 years has been pretty reliably voted yay on.
First of all, a disclaimer, I am a member of the Committee on Lectures and I do support this bill, but I'll say this with a little tongue in cheek, that if we don't follow precedent tonight, if we get this money back, we put it back to capital project. So consider that Senate when you're voting on this bill. Thank you.
I would just like, may I ask a question of the committee or group?
You may.
Perfect, thank you. Just out of curiosity, how much is the carryover request for?
The final, every year, every year it's been open because bills continue to come in, so you've left the bill open. So it would be in the 20 to 30 range.
Okay.
When we heard of the shortfall, we stopped.
And then, just another question, is that generally where it is, the carryover between?
The last 2 or 3 years, we've had a pattern of, historically, Committee on Lectures makes sure all these smaller groups get their speaker in place. And what we found the last 3 to 5 years is groups like collaborating on the big Bill Nye the Science Guy, the Daily Show, Michael Dice, and etc. And so we've changed our format. They worked on that this year to try to book the big jewels, as it were, to get them in place, because basically the last 3 to 5 years we had people confirm and we couldn't find a date. So, and people like the big names. So.
Okay, and so I guess just kind of piggyback off that, since you kind of changed your structure this year, is this a larger amount?
No,
it's about the same.
It's been about 20
okay.
the last 3 years.
Okay.
4 to 5 speakers end up rolling over to the next year, trying to find a date.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I yield.
Senator Byron.
Oh, I yield also.
Senator Meade.
Okay, so maybe if someone can fill me in, I'm just a little confused. It sounds like for the past few years, they've continually been carrying over $20,000 out. So that means we're giving them $20,000 more than they need or use, and then they ask to carry that over, and it just keeps getting carried over. So can someone clarify, because that seems like exactly why we voted against the last bill. So can someone clarify how this is different?
That is why the committee changed their process this year. They're going for the big names that are the most expensive, who would use up that $20,000 if the date was available. So we've already started that process for next year, and so the carry forward should be minimized. Next year it will be used to make up the deficit. Okay.
Okay, so there won't, I mean, it seems like we just keep on getting the same $20,000 rolling over and never gets spent. But that you're saying next year it's going to be different? Or?
The process changed, the scheduling. We're trying to put the big names in that keep passing over the last 3 years. I've been doing this 32 years. 3 years is a little bit of time in that. I know it's a big amount of time of years, but this has only been happening the last couple of years. So this process change, not structural change, should help that. Okay.
Benjamin. Merle.
Okay, I'm also a member of the Committee on Lectures, just so you know that, but I'm going to say that the fact that there's been a $20,000 carryover is actually saying a lot about the abilities of the Committee on Lectures, and especially Pat Miller in using GSB's money very carefully and being good custodians of the money that we're giving them. Because even though we've been giving them less money each year, this is the lowest amount that we've given them in a long time. As President Hughes said, the way that Lectures manages to get such good lectures and still have money left over is because in the year of 2011-2012, the expenses for the speakers was $202,000 less than was initially asked for. That means that $202,000 was negotiated, and we spent a lot less money on these speakers than they initially asked for. And then in addition to that, it's a requirement for the Committee on Lectures to get their funding that groups that wish to have a lecturer or speaker also have to seek other sources of funding from all across campus, like colleges and other groups. And in 2011-2012 again, 235 co-sponsors gave $198,000 and $198,113 to help minimize the amount that the Committee on Lectures has to contribute. So I think they're being very careful with our money. They're getting a lot done. And I definitely support this carryover.
All right. With this one, to address Senator Dee's point, I'm a little torn on it. I'm not sure which way I'm going to vote yet, but just to address it, I see it as a little bit different because of the fact that they can have people cancel on them, and therefore they never get charged. But they have to have that money there to offer to begin with, where, like performing arts, we just had, you can't, I mean, normally it shows not canceled. So that's, I think, where the distinction is drawn. However, again, I'm a little torn on this because if you add in the amount that they're going to carry over, they're allocated for this fiscal year, this one coming up, roughly 82,000 by GSB. Last year they got 100,000 by GSB. If you negate the carryover request and factor this one in, they would actually get a little bit more than what was allocated. So that's the only caveat I have on that statistic, unless I'm incorrect, which Senator Fitton apparently says I am, and he'll correct me on later. So I see if you negate the carryover request line in the past, I believe it's roughly the same. But again, I'm torn.
Senator Fitton.
To address Senator Kinsler's remarks, that would be more because this request includes World and National Affairs series, so they don't come with 3 individual bills for lectures, World and National. They ask for this lump sum because of the way it's financed. They can do that with them. Also to speak to Senator Nee's point, this hasn't happened in the past 10 years. Once again, you can go through legend, this is public record, or not public record, but we all have access to this. It's happened since the 2009 session, 2009-1 session. So this has happened in the past 3 years, and this would be the fourth this past out. So this isn't something that's totally irregular, but it's not out of the blue either. And can't reiterate enough, it's something we do routinely. It's pretty much precedent, but for this reason, it's almost essential. Senator Merle will try to articulate the point of what PAC does an excellent job. Dear Gold Star, I can't articulate it. Gold Star Hall. Not only is she negotiating these prices down for each individual speaker, spending many late hours doing that, working hard for the program, but we're going out, we're finding different sponsors throughout campus, through different academic departments, through different student organizations like this PAC, and we're lowering the prices for the Committee on Lectures that we are good stewards of the student fee money. So I would once again, I don't know if my support actually helps, but I would yes vote at this point. So
Senator Johnson.
I just wanted to sort of go off of what Senators Fitton and Merle said, and just as a member of the Committee on Lectures, this past year, I've seen the way, again, that we are very careful to negotiate prices down. And just a point that I don't think has been made is that the Committee on Lectures is actually a funding arm of GSB. This isn't the same like normal club type of thing. It's a different type of process. We have one of the best lectures programs in the country, and I think that it's something we really pride ourselves on. We've had some wonderful, wonderful speakers come this year, and if you aren't aware of that, that's really your loss. Rather than probably the lectures, frankly. And just again, like they said, I can also vouch for the fact that we really do, and Pat especially does a very good job going through and cutting funds. There's been situations this year where we've been able to, through her negotiation and experience, be able to cut fees by like 50% at least. I mean, we've had some pretty good cuts at any rate. And she really does go after any sort of opportunity to co-sponsor, even if it's a little bit of a stretch sometimes. So, but anyways, yeah, I just think it's going to be a very important this to our university.
Senator Benzoni.
Seeing what the phrase I call the question.
Second. Question has been called and seconded. We are now voting on this bill as a whole. Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni.
Yes.
Breitbart.
Yes.
Brody.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Byro.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Bisek.
Yes.
Fitton.
Yes.
Gallagher.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Kinsler.
Yes.
Nee. Lund.
Yes.
Merle.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yeah.
Plattenberg.
Yes.
Rode. Snow.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Voss.
No.
Walsh.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Wilson.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Yetley. Me.
No.
By a vote of 29 to 2 to 1, this passes.
Thank you guys, and I fixed your mic, so.
We are now on Senate Bill 2013-1-010F, bike pump carryover. I do not have this bill in front of me, I don't know which part.
All right, so bike pump carryover requests. So we talked about this last week, and to answer the question about the delay in the bike pump, which did come up last week, I've talked to my Kofer about right before this meeting about 6:30, and the pump delay was, first of all, the pump was back ordered from the company, so it's nothing to do with anybody at Iowa State's fault as to why the pump didn't come. And also, the design was modified and improved by adding an air gauge to the pump. The company decided to do this, and so that has created an additional delay. And we both believe that this pump will be ready by the beginning of the fall semester for student use.
delayed, it's still gonna get done. I call the question.
Second.
We're now voting on this bill as a whole. Bauer.
Yes.
Benzoni.
Yes.
Breitbart.
Yes.
Brody.
Yes.
Birch.
Yes.
Byros.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Pisak.
Yes.
Fitton.
Yes.
Gallagher.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Johnson. Yes. Kaufman.
Yes.
Kensler.
Yes.
Mead.
No.
Lund.
Yes.
Merle. Osborne.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Plettenberg.
Yes.
Rhodes. Snell.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Turhall.
Yes.
Voss.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Williams. Wilson.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Yetley.
Yes.
Sorry, we have to count this. By a vote of 29-1-0, this passes. With that, we are on Senate Bill 2013-1-003 F-StuOrg database.
At this time, I'll move to recess for 5 minutes. I think this will be on there.
Second. Object.
Yeah.
Okay, placards up for yes. Oh, we're voting on whether or not to recess for how many minutes? For 5 minutes. Okay. Up for yes. Down. Up for no's. Down. Up for abstentions. Okay, by a vote of 18-12, we will have a recess for 5 minutes. 3 hours student meeting. We are back on Senate Bill 2013-1-003 F-StuOrg database rewrite center 50
Title: Rewriting and Improving Student Organizations Database.
Hello, everybody. I'm George Mickelon, Director of Student Activities. And initially, I presented the option or idea to the old Senate about the opportunity to rewrite the existing database we use to manage the 840 plus student organizations and their records, and as an administrative tool for management, as well as a usage tool from students across campus and prospective students who are interested in any of our 840 plus student organizations. And so just as an initial point of information, this is not a request by the Student Activities Center to fund the office for an administrative tool. It's a opportunity to make a aged and, for lack of a better term, decrepit system up to speed with technology of 2013 and to hopefully be more functional for all that use it.
All right. Okay, if I may start forward. All right, I want to go over some history for the members of the Senate who haven't been here for the entire day. I want to note on February 13, 2013, the Senate passed this jacked bill, except for 2013, the actual bill number, by a margin of 23-2-0. Former President Mayor Knight vetoed successively on February 15, 2013 with the following objections. His first objection was funding university departments. He believed that funding the rewrite of this database system would be funding SAC. As Mr. Mickelon has noted tonight, that's not true. We have Jeff Sorensen coming next week and attest as such, and many of the veterans and members can go through those same points as well. The second objection, I'll skip for the time being, and move to the third to convenience, not necessity. As Mr. Mickelon pointed once again, there are many uses, and I will speak about them later in debate, which Mr. Sorensen gave to Senate that are in the minutes, and I can address any questions about that as given to me by the minutes. But last, I want to go to the second point about capital projects account balance. Former President Knight at the time didn't feel that the current state of the account was fit to fund the bill. It's at the same balance, essentially the same balance it was at that time, including the $10,000 we're going to get for denying performing arts area requests, as well as $12,000 for, we're going to say, when Finance Committee budgeted for an out-of-state finance director this past fiscal year, and we had an in-state finance director. That means that any of that carryover rolls over into our capital projects account. That's going to be $12,000. All in all, tonight alone, we have $22,000 waiting in capital projects, which doesn't make that same argument that the balance is low, which was the primary concern when it was sent unfavorably out of the Senate Finance Committee, and I can attest to that. So with that being said, I urge many questions. It's one that warrants lots of debate on the actual usage of the system and how we're funding it through SAC. But I can tell you, I believe the least of the concern should be the state of the capital projects account, because I do believe it's in good health first and foremost. But second of all, I do think this very much warrants usage of this account for the betterment of the student body.
Vice Speaker.
Okay. Couple things here. First thing, I had a discussion with MU Director Richard Reynolds back here earlier this afternoon, and he has agreed to chip in $5,000 from, did you say the student activities?
It'd be from the Memorial Union operations budget.
From the Memorial Union operations budget. So at this time, I would like to amend.
Can I make a point of comment on that?
Yes.
Typically, when web development does projects, they try to estimate conservatively, but in the end, once you get into the heart of what you're working on, you realize that other improvements need to be made, and the budget goes up. So as a point of reference, Senate funded, I think either $30,000 or $40,000, let's go with 40, for the online event authorization system that we use today. Since that program had been billed, we've already spent an additional $15,000 from the Memorial Union to make it to the current status and have more improvements to be made. So it's inevitable that the MU is already going to pay for additional improvements to this system, and I'd hope that you would consider the dollar amount that's in the budget as is.
Okay, so we can debate the amendment, please. I'll keep the $5,000 amendment on the table as proposed from Director Reynolds.
Second.
Okay, we are now on discussion of the amendment. So change $5,000 to be funded by Memorial Union operating budget, which would reduce the GSB overall total to $19,300. We're now on the amendment. Senator Murrow.
I just have a question. It's my understanding that when this system was initially created, or at least the last time it was updated, that the MU collectively also supported that. Is that true? Anyone?
Yes.
Do you know how much that is? How much it was?
Since I've been here for 5 years, we've made an annual improvement of anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000. Now, there is an allocation to the SAC budget from the regular allocation process for $2,500 to $3,500 over the last 5 years. So you could say that the MU's kicked in half of that. So maybe anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000 over the last 5 years.
That's all.
Question.
Okay.
No, I don't withdraw my question.
I'll withdraw my objection.
Okay. Is that seconded?
Second.
Okay. Question has been called and seconded. We're now voting on the amendment. Placards up for yes. Down, up to no. Down, up for abstention. By a vote of 31 to 1, the amendment passes. Vice Speaker Snow.
All right. May I address a question to the Finance Director?
You may.
Dan, in our meeting that we had earlier this afternoon, you had mentioned that there were probably some things that we could do to save money on this. Would you like to speak to that?
That you could do?
Yeah, some of the things. I think somebody's term was bells and whistles.
That was not my term. Okay. And I guess you can make whatever amendments you would like. Personally, having done web development and or program development, usually you're best off planning to build in all the things you're planning to build in at the beginning, instead of doing it incrementally, because then you get things that work really strangely, because you weren't planning on making something do something in a certain way. But that's just me as a programmer and not necessarily as the finance director of GSB. Obviously, you see a bunch of line items, so you could probably cut them if you wish, but you would have to do so wisely, I think.
Okay, thank you. May I address a question to Director Reynolds, is there anything that you wish to add on that?
Just that the initial outlay of money for the system came through GSB, and we're just to a point where as George mentioned, the system is antiquated and needs to start afresh with it. George and his staff did look at outsourcing this to private companies, and the cost would be substantially more on an annual contract basis than to develop it in-house and to have our own web development provided. So we feel like it's time to move forward with a new system.
Thank you. And as a point of personal privilege, I'd like to add my name to the bill.
Can I add the figures he's referencing? Third-party companies, there are three primary. One's called Simplicity. You can look these up. One's called OrgSync, and the third one's Collegiate Link. And for the number of student orgs we have, which is in the probably top 3% of all universities, most universities have most major universities have 300 to 400 student orgs. Us being over 800, we're probably in the top 40 universities nationwide for number of orgs. Don't quote me on that scientifically. However, annual contract for the number of orgs we have is typically 19 to 25,000, with some growing pains for integration. And that's an annual contract, not a one-time cost.
Senator McMillan.
Moving down.
Senator Brody.
I'd just like to speak in support of this bill. I'm a big fan, when we're doing capital projects, to see that there are other departments and elements, and we're just leveraging our capital projects money in ways that's going to get other people kind of having a financial stake in the systems that we're building, and I think this definitely kind of fulfills that with the additional support that we've gotten just new from the MU today, and also the ongoing support that different aspects of the MU do. So I would definitely urge you guys to vote on this and encourage other capital projects to similarly seek out kind of ways to leverage how we want to spend money to get others and set direction.
Senator Lund.
Yeah, I spoke to some people about this, and a lot of them are House President. I spoke to Crowley Senate about it, since that's who I confer with on a regular basis. And a lot of the presidents were confused as to exactly what purpose it had to be rewritten. I told them that it was antiquated, that it really needed to be brought to today's modern standards in web design. But a lot of them thought it was relatively fine the way it was, and that they got the use out of it that they needed. So I'll just keep that out on the table for people to consider.
Senator Kensler.
I'd have to agree with Senator Lund. I've also talked to my constituents, and they love the idea of a rewrite, especially those who are involved with campus organizations and those who are even officers. But they don't necessarily think that it should be coming out of student fee money. They don't think that, they don't, when you ask them if they like it, they say, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. When you say it's going to be $24,000, well, at the time it was $24,000 out of the student fees, out of your student fees, is that all right? Then they're adamantly against it. And for various reasons, I could talk, but it'd take up all my time. There is another point I want to make. With Senator Fitton's brief history he gave, I do want to just add one other point. I don't know if it's going to sway you one way or the other, but it is a point of information that I would like to give to Senate so you know the full story. Senate did try to overturn the veto, and it failed miserably. So apparently, what was that? 26 to 3. It failed for the motion to overturn the veto. So apparently there was some new information that came to light in previous Senate. However, I don't think that's the discussion we should be having. If we purely went off of what other Senates did or what precedent was, there'd be no need for all of you to be around here. We'd have a machine, plug it in, pump it out, vote or fail. So make up your own mind. Don't always, carry precedent with a little bit of weight, but don't think that you have to be bound by it. That's it for now. Thank you.
I just want to offer a couple comments without really sharing my opinion. I don't want to have this really push you in either direction, but I'd just like to say that if you are going to do this, I'd recommend doing it all now and not going through the line items and trying to piece it down. George mentioned this earlier, and I think Finance Director Radisky, somebody said this, I don't know, I get lost in the conversation, that you should do it all at once and it makes more sense, it'll be a better system, and it will make it last longer, so you won't have to do this again for a longer period of time. And additionally, if you do plan to do this, not saying if you should or shouldn't, but if GSB as a whole wants to do this project, there really is no better time to do it than now, because later throughout our term, the closer we get to regular allocations next March, the less money will be available for things like this. So if you want to make this a priority, now is the time to do it. And if you're going to do it, this is the right amount to do it at. That's what I would say, but again, it's your call, I yield.
Senator Bauer.
May I address Mr. Board?
Yeah.
George, so if we do pass this would be up and ready for the fall. So like around Club Fest time, or?
That's debatable. When we talked about in February, we would be able to hopefully get it ready by September. It's a 3 to 6 month project, depending on other projects they've occurred since the initial February discussion. So we'd have to follow up with Jeff Sorensen to find out, but it's, I would guess 5 days. My gut would say unlikely, but for sure by the end of the fall.
Okay.
If you don't do it now and you wait till the fall, then you're looking at spring and pretty much the whole year's over.
Okay. And then also, could you just like briefly explain the bells and whistles, like the amenities that come with the new system?
Sure. As you can see in the bill, I would say the only things that I would acknowledge are potentially convenience add-ons as opposed to necessities would be attendance tracking and card swipe and email subscriptions. What's the word in front of that? Announcement? Yep. Yeah, announcement and email subscriptions is definitely a functional tool that would make the database more desirable to be used by StuOrg officers. Part of the desire to rewrite it is not only to make it more convenient for users looking for information about student organizations, which, trust me, there's a lot of traffic on this site. However, it's also for users of the database as administrators, such as presidents, treasurers, advisors, etc., to be able to use this as a tool to manage their orgs, whether it be as a large organization such as Dance Marathon has a general meeting, they have 200 members, they want people to check in at the beginning of the meeting, they put out this card swipe or 5 card swipes, people swipe in as they're coming in, they have data on who's coming to the meetings, they can send follow-up, they can follow up with people who didn't attend, they can clean up their rosters on a more active basis. That's the intention behind the card swipe. It's also if you were doing an event and you wanted to know who came, whether you had to apply extra credit or whatever, it's a convenience tool for what seems to be a nominal amount of money. And then the email subscriptions is similar. If someone wants to find out more information about what an org is doing, part of the intention for this rewrite was to make it a pseudo-hybrid to a website. So as we know, lots of student organizations struggle to create active and functional websites. This wouldn't necessarily solve that problem, as would a full WordPress system that has been discussed in past Senates. But what it would do is give enough of extra tools from a general user perspective that they would be able to find the information they needed at a minimum, and then be able to join or follow up with that organization. So if they could subscribe to an email, and then the officers could use that to not have to manage an extra system, whether it be a ASW list or a Gmail list or a Excel spreadsheet, and theoretically they could keep it all within this system and then use it as a management tool. So there could be perceivably whistles, or they could be perceivably functional tools necessary to better organize and manage a student organization of any size.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think this is an easy way that we can affect over 800 student organizations through one bill. I'm in full support of this bill. Just to address something that Senator Kensler said, the override did fail miserably, but that was because circumstances were different at that time. We didn't have as much money in the capital projects account as we do now. We do have enough money right now to do this. Like President Hughes said, there's no better time to do this, so I think this is a great bill.
Senator?
Yeah, I guess two things I want to say is don't count your chickens before they hatch. Because we're talking about all this money and how much more we have now, and I think we actually have less than we did in the capital projects. Maybe it's a few thousand more. But the point is, we're saying that we're going to be getting this money, from the carryover that didn't pass, and that from finance director's tuition, you know, that was less than what we budgeted for. It's not that I'm against the idea of passing this bill. I don't want to do it now. And then even to the point of when we did it, when we looked at it in February, they talked about this as like a summer project, like it's something that we would have started during the summer so that we wouldn't have downtime on the system if it would occur. So I don't understand the downtime argument because I was under the impression that regardless of when we passed it, it was going to be done over the summer. So those are a couple problems I have with it. Thank you for now.
Point of information, Mr. Chair. Could you tell us what the current capital projects balance is?
The current capital projects account balance is $50,883.12.
And one thing I'd add is that I was told it's a 3 to 6 month project, so there's 4 months between now and August, so theoretically it could occur before school starts, but it would have to start. But it also could delay, so who knows?
Senator Murrow.
Okay, I would see about, I don't know, 3 concerns that you can have with this bill. I'm sure there's more. But the 3 overarching ones that I see is one, that it could be not necessary. And I've heard that expressed by multiple people because they said, I've talked to people that have said that there have been presidents of multiple organizations on campus and that they don't see that it's necessary to have this rewrite. But I would counter that argument by saying that one of the reasons they might think it's not necessary is because they found ways to do the basic things they need to do for their organization outside of the student org database. And if we did improve the student org database, all those things that they had to do outside of it could all be done in one place and probably more effectively, especially if this rewrite is done very well, which I believe that it will be. So I think there's a lot of opportunities that people might not see now because we don't necessarily need them, but you don't know how great something is until it actually happens, like the Meet Your Government Day. I don't think we realized how much we needed that event until we actually had it. Secondly, you could say that this rewrite has too many unnecessary bells and whistles, which it's up to you to decide what's necessary and what's not necessary. But I just want to say that when this bill originally came to us, it was for $29,100, and it included something called a photo gallery line item for $4,800. I don't remember exactly what that photo gallery was, but we struck it from the budget. So this is cheaper than it was before. That bell or whistle was gotten rid of. If you want to decide to get rid of more things, that's fine. It's up to you. But I just want to say that they have made efforts to make sure we get the important things done and not the unnecessary things. Thirdly, cost, which everyone has talked about. Bowers talked about it, Herman's talked about it. I would just definitely agree with everything that Bauer has said about it. Senator Bauer. Chairman Bauer, my bad. But I would just like to say one thing to kind of address the concerns that Senator Herman had. He said that, if I remember rightly, that it would be done over the summer, so we should, I don't know, could you please?
My point was that if it was supposed to be done over the summer, it wouldn't matter whether we passed it here or February because it wouldn't be a project that got started on until the summer, was my understanding.
Well, yeah, but if we wanted it to happen this summer, we would have to do it now.
I understand that.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood your point. That's it, I gotta say.
Director Lancer.
Can you move me down? My apologies.
Fitton.
Do you want to speak real quickly to a couple things that have been said? Senator Herman believes we should kind of and that circumstances haven't changed. Getting a little more context, I do want to note Senator Kinsler's point, the veto bill 8-18-0, which describes one of my frustrations with the Senate generally, that sometimes we don't go out and actually consider whether a yes means yes and a no means no. So you can base that however much you want. I will credit Senator Kinsler though, because he was consistent and voted no both times.
Thank you.
No qualms with that whatsoever. But I will note that at the time we were uncomfortable spending out of capital projects accounts because we were going into the regular allocations process. What usually happens in Senator, or excuse me, FDR can attest to this, that sometimes we are over budgeted, and the way we make up for that is pulling out of capital projects account, taking up our deficit, pulling money out from there, and lowering our balance. And we were afraid, especially with the situation we had this year, that that would be a necessity. We're not at regular allocations right now, and that money's still there. So the circumstances have absolutely changed. We are in a completely different place than we were at the time that this bill passed and then did not get overridden. Which brings my last point. Senator Moore brought it up earlier when I was talking to him today. It's a different thing to not vote to override veto, which first and foremost requires a bigger margin to do than it does to pass a bill. And it's another thing to not vote to override veto, which the Senate often does not do at all. I think veterans can attest, and we've seen one veto override in our past 2-3 years in Senate. It's a different thing to give deference to the president and the circumstances and the determinations that he's made when he vetoed the bill. As I said once again, the circumstances have changed. The objections that former president might have are not present in our current day. And I think that should hinge once again on the many necessities that student organizations can see in their usage of this bill. So with that, I urge quick passage. Hope we don't need a dead horse, and I yield.
Director Lancer.
Madam Mr. Speaker.
You may.
Time kind of seemed to be an issue with all the components that are listed on here and the 4 to 6 month time period. Does that 4 to 6 month time period entail all of the components being up and ready to go, or does that just detailed necessities, making sure the website functions, that it's searchable and usable?
Yeah, I don't know for certain because I'm not in web development, but I would assume, based on your logic and my past experience with web development, that they could probably have a core system up by the time school started and then maybe add another piece or two. The only challenge with that from a management perspective is that we have to provide a little bit of education to the users, and I would hate to have to do that more than once.
Kaufman.
I have a question for Richard.
Yeah.
You guys are offering $5,000. How is that going to affect the Emmys budget?
Well, we would take that. We have some salary savings from unfilled positions, and so it would not affect our bottom line. Basically, that's money that was budgeted for position. It was unfilled for a while, so we do have that money available to allocate toward this. Thank you.
Clark.
All right. In the interest of cutting costs further, I would like to echo what Mr. McAlone has said about there's certainly some fat here that could be trimmed. And I'd like to go further and say also the social media seems like a fairly superfluous cost. And with that being said, I would like to amend the bill, but I will start with simply one line item, and I will move to amend out attendance tracking and card swipe.
Object.
Second.
Second.
Has there been a second?
Second.
Object.
Object.
What is that? So, since the amendment was moved and seconded, but then objected, that means we have to vote whether or not we will consider the amendment. The amendment would be to get rid of the line item, attendance tracking, and card swipe. So, if you vote yes, that means you want to consider this amendment. If you vote no, that means you do not want to consider this amendment, and abstain means abstain. We're going to do a placard vote. Please raise your placard very high.
As a point of information, I'm not sure if you can actually object to a motion, because the motion after it's made, then it's debated, then the vote says whether or not it's passed or not.
So we debate the motion then.
Okay.
As a point of information, to the chair, may we refer to our new parliamentarian on this?
Yeah, no, he's right.
With that, we are not going to vote on anything. We're just going to discuss the amendments. We're now on discussion of the amendment only. Senator Clark, you have the floor.
Okay, if I could just please just to say why I'd like to amend this out. Above all the others, I think this is the most superfluous. I think we had talked about this being a great you know, this would be a great add-on if we could ever get it to work, but it really would not be necessary. You know, the card swiping would be great for attendance, but it really, at the end of the day, wouldn't be necessary. Furthermore, the argument was made that card swipes could be used at Club Fest. And the argument was made that that would rather detract from what Club Fest really does, because people would probably just go through and swipe their cards wherever they would, you know, have a moderate interest. It wouldn't make them take the time to meet the people, to learn more about the group, and it would really detract from what we're trying to do with student organizations. So I think that card swipes, while costing $2,100, it would also take away from what we're trying to do with our groups. So that's the reasoning behind why I'd like to remove this. I yield the floor.
Can I make a point?
Yes.
What if the student org didn't allow you to swipe until after you spoke to them? Not trying to be facetious, just trying to think of logistically.
Sure. Well, may I respond to that? All right. Well, I'd just like to say, you know, that I guess that would be, you know, up to the consent of the group. But that's just my personal opinion. I feel like when you're given the opportunity, you know, like a kid in a candy store, you will take the opportunity to just, you know, get up to as many groups as possible. When I was a freshman, I probably signed up for 10 or 12 groups, you know, and it took me a fair amount of time to write my signature down and, you know, write my email. If I had the chance to just swipe my card, I probably would have done 20 or 25. That's just coming from my personal opinion.
Sure. That's a point of information to share. Yes. We are on discussion of the minute and not on the bill, and therefore a lot of the placards that are up probably shouldn't be up.
Yes. President Hughes.
Thank you. I commend Senator Clark for his efforts to cut spending. I'm all about cutting spending. I'm a Tea Partier. One of the things about the card swipe thing is actually one of the things that I am most excited about for this whole situation. Speaking as a former committee member for Dance Marathon, as an example, one of the largest student orgs, we had absolutely no way to take attendance at our all committee meetings, which had you know over 100 people coming into one room in the MU. You know, you can write your friend's name down if you really want to take attendance, but they're much less likely to give you their ID card for the whole evening. And so that's just one example of the way a student org can take advantage of this you know, use of the card swipe system. There's a whole host of other ways to do it, and I think, like I said, I'm glad that we're looking for ways to kind of save money. But this whole thing is, I want to get back to my first point I made when I spoke for the first time. This is a complete package of a really strong improvement to our system. It really comes as one whole. And when we cut a piece out, if we cut any piece out of this, what's going to happen is that piece will come back to us later to vote on again, and it's a separate edition. It won't be as good because it won't be as fully integrated with the initial code. So what it will do is cause us to rewrite the whole system more down the line when that does happen, because it will happen. We'll have to do it sooner than we would if we just passed it all at once and let the code all be written at the same time. I know nothing about programming, but I do know that that is true, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. That just makes sense, right? So if you're going to pass it all. If you're not going to pass it, don't pass it. I don't, do whatever you want on that, but cutting things out and then passing it kind of piecemeal is a bad idea.
Senator Brody.
Yeah, as someone who, I'm a grad assistant in the Student Activity Center, and so I get a lot of chance to work with various student groups. And these infrastructure pieces and empowering groups in the way that most of the items, but including the card swipe, specifically do. This is really empowering students because in their student orgs, they're doing what they're passionate about and bringing it to the broader community, and that's just a huge part of what we're all about. So I would again urge to vote no on this amendment and to fund all of these pieces because this is empowering our student orgs, which we have such a great and vibrant student org community. And yeah, I think this is exactly what we should be doing. And so yeah, I really enjoy this.
Senator Planford.
I would just like to say that I think this is probably one of the most valuable parts for all the organizations to hold large events. For instance, just to think of one, the event we held Monday, we had to track everyone who came through and had them sign up for the email list just by swiping their cards. It's just one example, and I'm sure there are dozens of organizations that have similar events that would really appreciate this.
Speaker Williams.
Okay. I was actually, okay. The only reason why I would be open to this, I do have, okay, before I start, I have one question if I may, the speaker. How would the groups be able to swipe their cards
Haven't fully vetted that out, but I assume we'd have a checkout for swipes. They're only like, or a group could buy them themselves. You could buy them for 20 bucks, 30 bucks. So whether we buy a bunch and people check them out, or the groups just invest in one, it's a nominal fee.
So this is just so through a.
It's a USB.
Swipe, then you
Yeah.
could just, okay, perfect.
So have you ever checked into Buyer Hall where they swipe your card? It has a little, it plugged into the computer just like that.
Okay, so that actually changed my mind, because I was going to say that the elections program that we actually just saw has talked about buying actual card swipes, probably 3 of them, just because their lectures are heavily attended and they'd like to do this. And so you could probably check out those if they're not having a lecture at that time. And so I guess I would not be in favor of this amendment either, because I can see it as an asset to you. So if we're going to fund it, we might as well fund it all. So thank you.
Can I add something for consideration?
You may.
How many people here remember Facebook when it first came out? Vaguely, sort of. How many people have kind of cataloged the improvements they've made over the years and had mixed feelings over which ones they enjoy and which ones they haven't? You can kind of consider that thought in this system as, you probably don't remember what the site was like in 2001 when they built it for the first time. But you have an idea, this system, but you probably have an idea if you've ever been part of a student org, what it's like now, and maybe you could imagine what it would look like if some of these things or all these things were implemented. And so maybe think about that from a personal perspective or use perspective on not everything that's going to get improved you're probably going to enjoy, but there's got to be someone that liked it, otherwise they wouldn't have put it in there for the first place. And second of all, I'm sure most people don't want to go back to the Facebook of 2004 when it first came out and enjoy some of the whistles that they've put in today. So this is not me saying that you guys should all do this because I want it. I'm just saying that you should just consider the other 4,500 officers of student orgs that potentially could be impacted by this bill. We have probably 6,200 users if you count advisors. It's a quarter of our student body.
Okay, so I think this bill as a whole is a great idea, and it's one of the best capital projects I've seen come through in 2.5 or whatever, however long I've been here. But to Senator Clark's point, for this specifically, I do think that the card swipe program really is an extra luxury. I mean, are we really honestly, seriously considering spending $2,000? The change would be, instead of standing in a line and signing your name, you're going to stand in a line and swipe your card. It's going to save them a couple of seconds. I mean, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's an extra luxury that I think we can easily cut out, and I don't think it's worth $2,000. So I'm in favor of this amendment. I think that the rest of the system is definitely necessary. The rest of the system is really good, and I commend you for the work. But I just think that this is an extra luxury that's not worth $2,000. It's not that big of a deal to stand in a line and sign your name or sign your email. And if you say, oh, well, you can have 5 card swipes, you can have 5 notepads and pass those around. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. So I'm in favor of this amendment.
Senator Johnson.
Actually, I had some other questions, just to address that. I think that, yes, on that end, it does save a couple seconds. But on the other end, for example, loading in all the email addresses that were received, that saves a lot of time to already have that loaded into the card swipe system. So I don't honestly really agree with your point at all. But then also, I was going to say, I think I agree with what else has been said, is that if we're going to do this, we might as well do all of it. And I think in the long run, doing this now versus later is going to save us money, because as others who know a lot more about computer programming than me, and probably most of us, have said, it would take longer and be more difficult to integrate later. So I think that at some point, this would probably come up for reconsideration and potentially be significantly more expensive and work not as well. So I think that this is something that we want to do as a whole, which I support the bill as a whole, that there's really not a great reason not to just go ahead and do it now. $2,000 in the scope of things is not huge. But yeah, I think later.
Okay. It is 9:51. We have 8 minutes remaining on this bill as a whole. Senator Voss.
How much time do I have speaking privilege wise? 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Let us die.
The first thing that came to my mind after, I actually like the original Facebook and hate the new one now. But then again, I don't like Windows 7 because I like Windows 98. Sorry. I have a question. May I address the speaker, Mr. McClone?
You may.
God, it just makes me show how ignorant I may be just on this part, on the attention tracking and the card swipe. But when you swipe your card at a club event or some social gathering, does it then record your personal information that you would have on your ISU account then, like email address and your name?
I don't know the exact background on how it would work, but I know that currently we have a roster feature where if you're a member of the organization, you can acknowledge your involvement by asking to join or by having an officer add you and then you acknowledge. I think this would help. This would be a separate system within the system for interest in the org, not necessarily for membership. I think it also would probably tie into whether or not you're already a member and being able to figure out if your member is attended or if you're just a new person expressing interest. So I think it has multiple functions, but I don't know exactly how to integrate it.
If I could add a bit of information, I know at the testing center, having worked there, I would assume you have a similar system. It logs all the emails, there's a huge list of recent check-ins.
Oh, a point of order. When you make a point of information,
You have to be addressing.
the chair.
Oh, I apologize.
I didn't mean to do that.
We're working on that. Something that's we're working on. But for this question that you had addressed, I will give the floor to Senator Benzoni to answer that question because he has indicated he has knowledge of it.
I don't know exactly how the system would work again since I'm not working on it, but likely it would send their student ID number to some sort of database that could process it and give out whatever information they build into it. It would probably be name, email.
And these are for club members, correct?
I think it's for all students.
That isn't for a micro-advertising kind of thing at
No.
all, is it?
Not unless the organization chose to use that information for a different purpose. However, I don't think we could speculate on that because there are 840 student orgs and lots of officers that can use that information.
Right.
Or you could speculate that way if you wanted.
You could.
But I would argue that they would probably use it for the right reasons and give them the benefit of the doubt. And as an individual swiping, you have that choice to not swipe.
That is true. Okay. I guess I will yield.
Senator Finn.
I will have a question.
Second.
You can object if you wish.
On the amendment, right?
Yes.
Question has been called and seconded on the amendment. Placards up for yes.
As a point of information.
Okay, sorry. Okay. We're now voting on the amendment. If you want to strike attendance tracking / card swipe, then you're a yes. If you don't want to, you're a no. Abstain is abstain. Placards up for yes to strike the line. Up for yes. Down? Up, no.
If I meet George after you go home.
Down? Up for abstentions? I vote 4 to 27 to 1. This amendment fails.
Before,
Yes.
I think we've had plenty of debate on this.
As a point of information, does he have the floor, seeing as how he didn't propose the amendment?
I called the question.
Anybody can call a question, we don't have four.
As a point of order, we don't have the floor.
Okay. I don't know. We're going to stand out here. I don't know enough about that specific part of parliamentary procedure.
No. I know.
But I was going to give him the floor
Okay.
after. Anyway, so Senator Pitt, you have the floor.
Thank you. Once again, we've had plenty of debate on this, I feel. So I'm going to call the question.
Second. That's all I wanted to do.
I will now withdraw my motion.
Okay, so you're now voting on whether or not you want to vote on this bill as a whole now. If you want to, you will vote yes. If you do not want to vote on the bill right now, you will vote no. Abstain is abstain as always. Placards up for yes.
Aye.
Yeah. I will direct that to Senator Brody, but we're in the middle of voting. Placards down, up for abstentions. I will.
Just give me 2 seconds, but I'm pretty sure it's 2/3.
Point of information, it is.
It is 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's not point of information. Point of information, how much time is remaining?
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Okay.
1 minute, we're calculating percentage.
Do you have a smartphone?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have Facebook on that smartphone?
Yes.
That's one of the groups they basically on before. That's one of the groups they basically on before.
They made it
By a vote of 22 to
16.
10,
Oh.
this passes, and we're now voting on the bill in whole. Bauer,
Yes.
Benzoni, Breitbart,
Yes.
Brody,
Yes.
Birch,
Yes.
Byro,
Yes.
Clark,
No.
Doherty,
Yes.
Peaceck,
Yes.
Finn,
Yes.
Gallagher,
No.
Kerman,
Nope.
Johnson. Yes. Kaufman,
Yes.
Kensler,
No.
Mead,
No.
Lund,
Abstain.
Merle,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Peterson, Plantenberg,
Yes.
Rode,
No.
Snell,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Turhall,
Yes.
Voss,
No.
Walsh,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Wolf,
No.
Yetley. Yes.
I'm gonna laugh when it's not up till like fucking November and it's past Club Fest and it won't work. Nobody can use it. The best part was when it passed in February and started. Right for regular location.
By a vote of 22 to 9 to 1, this passes.
While I'm still here, can I ask you something unrelated?
Yes.
Just as personal interest students. So, Student Union Board is considering some options for the fall for Stevens events, ticketed Stevens events, and I thought I'd get your opinion. How many people here like or enjoy the show Duck Dynasty? Not as many as I was expecting.
I will put my hands up because I know my friends do.
How many people know somebody that enjoys the show Duck Dynasty?
That's a.
How many people know somebody who would spend upwards of $30+ a ticket to see Duck Dynasty? Does that change your opinion?
Yes. No. No.
Okay. That being said, how many people here watch or know somebody who watches the show Modern Family? Is that more than Duck Dynasty? It kind of.
No, it's not.
How many people think that they would know somebody or themselves would spend between $25 and $30 a ticket to see not Ed O'Neill or Sophia, what's her face, but some of the middle characters like Julie Bowen, Ty Burrell, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, or the other guy who's Cam, Side Street or Smart Street, whatever his name is. Yes.
RHA paid for resident parties.
What's that?
You can get RHA pay for a portion of residence hall tickets. I will do it.
You can ask RHA too.
Yeah,
No, you could. I try not to ask for money. Okay, and then the third thing is how many people here enjoy or witness or watch Seth Meyers? Weekend Update on SNL. He would be cheaper than the other two options.
Yeah.
SNL Weekend Update. He's also hosted the SB Awards the last few years, and in 2014 is most likely to replace Jimmy Fallon as a late host after Fallon replaces Leno. So his fee will significantly increase after this year if we don't make a move now, if we were to be interested in him.
Yes.
And how many people here give 2 licks about Stacy Bookout Teen Mom.
Don't encourage teenage pregnancy.
Thanks for your time.
Make your life look like trash.
Now we're moving on to new business. We're now on Senate Bill 2013-1-011F, asset funding priorities for fiscal year 2015. Senator Williams, you first.
You have this?
I can't, what is it?
You have it?
It's the title is the asset funding priorities for fiscal year 2015. Yeah. You can read it, yeah, it's up here. Well, I guess I can read it. So this is, okay, I'll read this, and then I'll yield to finance. Okay, title, asset funding priorities for fiscal year 2015. Whereas the Story County Analysis and Social Services Evaluation Team, ASSET, does allocations for the next fiscal year in January. And whereas each funder is required to come up with funding priorities prior to the joint funders meeting in December, and whereas several of the requesting organizations are requesting that funding priorities to be set sooner in the year to allow for planning in their requests, and whereas the government student body, GSB, allocated $143,000 towards asset for the next fiscal year, be it therefore enacted that GSB adopts the following priorities in the order that they appear for the fiscal year 2015 asset allocations. 1 is programs and services that promote personal safety with regards to violence and abuse. 2 is child care services with specific emphasis on infant and toddler care. 3, programs and services that go towards domestic violence and rape. 4, substance abuse prevention and treatment, both group and individual care. 5, legal services that are not provided by student legal services. 6, services that enhance understanding of the community through service. 7, other services that provide a direct benefit to students. 8, services that are of indirect benefit to students. And be it further enacted that copies of this legislation be sent to the mayor of the city of Ames, the members of the Ames City Council, the Story County Board of Supervisors, the president of the United Way of Story County, the director of the Iowa Department of Human Services, the GSB asset representatives, the city of Ames asset representatives, the United Way of Story County asset representatives, the Department of Human Services asset representatives, and the vice president for student affairs. As I am told, this is something that we do every year, and I will actually yield to the finance director to explain further.
So, this bill is something that I put up on the agenda this week. It is not, I guess, officially authored by me, but this is a request that was kind of passed along by former finance director R.J. Van Velden, and was indicated that it would be desired for us to at least have a discussion on it. So I put the bill on the agenda so that we can discuss these priorities. I'm not expecting you necessarily to pass a bill, but at least having the discussion is important, because some of the organizations that request funding through asset want that information. And at least getting the sense of the Senate is important on this, because you do eventually pass one of these. And that is very important. That is something that we have to do as an asset funder. And so I would strongly encourage going through and at least discussing this. And that's kind of the situation as I understand it right now as well. So I apologize for any confusion. I did put Finance Committee's names as authors on the bill, as well as Gabby's name, Speaker Williams, because that is how the bill has been done in the past. For no other reason than to simply follow what was done in the past. So it's not implying that they're supportive of this bill, they're not saying you should do this, but that is what's going on.
Floor is now open for questions of intent, since we are on first read. Questions of intent. Senator Fitz.
So it is the intent of the author to waive second reading?
Correct. Yes.
Senator Kinsler.
Is it the officer's intent to explain why we're discussing this now, not at regular asset funding time? I assume?
Yes.
Thank you.
Alright, yeah, so now I
Speaker Williams, you have the floor.
move to waive second reading.
Second.
Check.
Okay, so we're now voting on whether or not to waive second. To waive second reading has been properly moved. So we will now vote on whether or not to waive second reading. Yes means you want to waive second reading to discuss this bill tonight. No means you don't want to. Okay, and abstain means abstain. Vice Speaker Snow.
My information to the chair. If we fail this bill, we can bring it up in the fall again, correct?
Yes.
All right.
As a point of information to the chair, if we fail this bill, we cannot discuss it tonight as requested by the finance director.
If you don't waive second reading, correct.
As a point of information, I'm not a parliamentarian, but I don't know, it seems, I'm definitely not a parliamentarian, but it seems like we could really question, is it possible to have any discussion at all about, to ask, maybe we should have that been a part of a question of intent as to why they would like to waive second reading, if that's appropriate, or we'd have to vote on it.
No, that is not.
Point of information to the chair.
Point of information to the chair that questions of intent are only yes or no answers.
Thank you.
Point of information to the chair, is it possible for us to have a discussion on the bill without having a vote tonight?
Yes.
We need to vote on the motion that is on the table now. So, yes means you want to waive second read. No means you do not want to. And abstain means abstain. Placards up for yes. Down. Up. No. Put them high, please. Down. Up for abstentions. By a vote of 22 to 8 to 2, we have waived second reading. Now, we have discussion of the bill. Senator Kinsler.
May I address a question to the finance director?
You may.
Perfect, thank you. Dan, Finance Director Radisky, could you please explain why we're talking about fiscal year 2015, seeing as how we just passed this at the last meeting of the last two sessions ago, so the second session of Senate. We already passed the asset funding priorities for fiscal year 2014. Why we're discussing it so early?
So what happens is in January, like next January, they do allocations for the next fiscal year, which is what we do as well. So we'll be doing 2015 when we get to our allocation cycle. When organizations fill out budgets, they fill them out that far ahead. And what they want is a little bit of direction as to what they can look at funding. This was something that was encouraged to me by, like I said, the previous finance director. And what I'm envisioning with this is not necessarily passing it, as I mentioned, but at least one of the organizations requesting funding through asset would like some direction. And this is at least one of the methods that I can get your feedback. I can't get your feedback, I can't have you discuss something without something on the floor. So this is the way for me to do this within parliamentary procedure. So I guess I'm sorry for the confusion, but
I'm just retaining my time. I would just, so that the priorities we gave them in November, they essentially they want new priorities. I mean, they accept the ones we gave them, then they want a future look ahead in the future.
Correct. We do them every year.
Yeah,
so they are something that we can change from year to year.
Yeah.
And so if you want me to just continue on with the old ones, then that's exactly what's up there, but that's also just what they have. I wanted to talk about it because I didn't want to just assume you like the old ones.
And I agree, I guess talking's good, but my question was why so soon? I would urge the Senate after some discussion on to either table this bill or postpone indefinitely.
Vice Speaker Snow.
Okay, I apologize for jumping in front of you right here. There's a lot of confusion, it seems, about what this is all about. So for the new people, Finance Director Radisky, I may address the Finance Director. Could you please explain to the Senate what the asset priorities are, what this is all about, and maybe articulate a little more concisely what you just told Gabe, why very specifically we're doing this right now. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to address those in reverse order. Why we're doing this right now is because organizations will be planning for the next fiscal year over the summer. You have to plan for a budget a year in advance. And they're going to start that process in the upcoming months. Obviously, we're not around to have discussions about it during the summer. So that's why I brought it up now. Typically, it's something we do at the beginning of the fall semester anyways. So that is that. Now, asset. Asset is kind of GSB's partnership with the Ames community, the United Way, and several other funders to provide community services, among other things. Obviously, all of the things related to the 8 bullet points on there, and multiple nonprofit organizations that provide those things are the organizations requesting funding. I don't recall off the top of my head which one was looking for more direction in the upcoming year, but I'm sure that most of them would appreciate it when they go to look to build their budgets as they go. It'd be kind of like us setting priorities and criteria ahead of time. Whereas these are a little bit of a different sort of guideline, it's the same idea.
So this is a courtesy we're providing for the people on this list?
Correct. At least in the sense that, you know, I can pass along that these were the senses of the Senate, even if you're not saying this is what we have in writing right now, but that they had discussions on these issues and that these are the ones that they feel affect Iowa State students the strongest, so that they would like the $144,000 foreseeably that we would allocate in the next year.
Thank you.
Senator Herman.
First of all, as a point of personal privilege, can I have my name taken off the bill? I was actually never informed my name was going to be on the bill, and I don't want it on there.
You may.
Second of all, I don't have a very positive feeling on asset. I was actually convinced that during regular allocations last semester, or this semester, from at-large placard, also known as Ian Wallace. Basically, I don't disagree with what asset does. I think it's a great service they provide. I don't think student fee dollars should go towards it. And the reason being is what they do is great. I'm not disputing that. But the amount of money we give them...
Is this germane to...
Yes, it is, because I'm talking about the bill as a whole. Thank you. What I'm saying is I don't think that we should be funding this in general, and I don't think this is something we should deal with, because the amount of dollars that we're putting towards this fund and the amount of students that it actually affects is very, very tiny in comparison to a lot of the other things we do. So that's just my rant on asset.
Senator Voss.
Oh, put me down.
Senator Nee.
Yeah, so kind of along those same lines. So, Madam Director. So is your intention for what you want us to discuss, the order of the 1 through 8, which is most important, or whether we should fund it at the $143,000? Is this talking about like whether we're approving the $100,000 or the first one?
Can I answer your question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, 1 through 8. $144,000 already there, already spoken for. It has already been allocated this year. I'm not exactly sure if you really wanted to get out of asset altogether. I feel like that would probably be some sort of legal mess. But if you really want to investigate it, I'm sure we could. But that's a discussion for a different bill, a different day. Right now, I would like your preferences on 1 through 8.
Okay. As a point of information to the chair, this is not a bill regarding the amount of funding. This is regarding the order of the priorities, correct?
Yes. To let everyone be clear, one more time, I'm going to state what Finance Director Radisky just told us. We are not here to discuss funding asset. We're here to discuss the priorities of the money that is already allocated to asset. So,
And just sort of the point of information can be reordered.
yes, they can be reordered, different than what they're currently written on the bill.
Okay, well then, I just agree with Senator Herman. I don't have an opinion on the order because I don't understand any of this. I yield.
Senator Talley.
Okay, so just to clarify, I'm sorry I'm new, but ASSET is a county like governmental organization.
Yes.
And so it affects a lot of people outside of the student body.
Yeah.
So we should be like rank our priorities just by the students, like, and that would, never mind. I don't have opinions that
Director Lancer.
In regards to the previous statement there, funding these services, some of these services are services that are available to students, such as access here in Ames, which would be part of the safety services. So that was just a point of clarification.
Senator Blanford.
I'm moving on.
Senator Benzoni.
All right, may I address the finance director?
You may.
Was there one of these for last year, basically this, with the prioritization?
Yes, and read exactly like this.
And right, that it is the exact same as the,
Well, with one line added in, because it says that one of the funders would like direction earlier in the year. So.
but the actual list of priorities is exactly the same.
Correct.
Senator Fitton.
All right. I think Senator Talon actually spoke about why considering this is really a problem right now, because what we have currently is a situation where a lot of the Senate, a nice majority of the Senate, does not understand asset in its entirety, does not understand the process we go through with asset, and frankly don't have knowledge about when we're spending the money early. And that's no attack on Senator Talon, it's no fault of his own. That more speaks to how the bill is coming in right now, which is why I objected to considering this. I objected to waiving second reading, because we don't have enough institutional knowledge at this time to consider and understand the priorities that are in the bill, which gets back to the discussion, which we may or may not have at some time, should we be doing this. But I will go on to talk about the priorities, because I have my own objections there. We did consider this last fall, and so once again, I do think consideration of this right now is something to be objected to, as I did. But second of all, I think the priorities as they stand were not necessarily fully considered by the Senate as they should have been when this bill was ordered. For those of us who were here, we had an individual senator at the time, Senator Ballhagen, who had specific experience working with one of these priorities and felt the need as she was working with them wasn't being properly suited by current charitable and philanthropic funds. And so Senate, on that testimony alone, and that testimony alone, for one individual senator with one individual experience, changed priorities without considering the others. I personally feel that was arbitrary, because we had no other testimony as to the other priorities that are on the bill. So going back to my original point, I don't think this is something that Senate can speak on at this time. As we go on, we will continue to understand this in a way that is more fitting for this body to give an opinion on and have a larger conversation about asset. But now is not that time. So I would agree with Senator Benzoni at this time. We need to table or postpone this indefinitely so that we can have a more appropriate voice when we choose to do so.
Finance Director is speaking.
Does anyone have any thoughts on the 8 priorities as a whole? Because that's actually why I'm here, is to get your feedback on them. Because I can go and tell them that they can continue to carry on until we tell them differently. But I figured it would be appropriate for me to at least ask on these 8 items that if I'm going to keep them in the same order as I go into an asset meeting next week, or if I just, pretend this didn't happen because you guys don't think that I've given you enough headway and enough information. I'm working with just about the best I have as well at this point. That this is not something that I've come into contact with very much. And so I understand your trepidation on saying this is where we stand, but at least give me a little bit of the temperature on it. That's why it's here. It's not to say we don't like asset. It's not to say we love asset. It's to say these are things that we think can help impact the community in ways that will benefit students, or these are the ways that we think we should be influencing asset with our input in the next year, which foreseeably we will probably give, because I'm not sure how the obligation works. But I will look into that, since obviously there's sentiment on that as well. So if we could direct discussion towards those 8 items, I would really appreciate it, because I'm going to a meeting next Tuesday one way or the other. So
Senator Johnson, I take Senator Fitton's objections under consideration as a new senator, so keep what I'm saying in mind, with that in mind. However, just looking at the priorities as FDR suggested, I would like to, my feeling would be more to move the current point number 2, child care services, down to about 4th or 5th priority. If for no other reason than the fact that the vast majority of our students do not have children. I think that obviously I have nothing against children's care. But largely, honestly, just because I feel like current priorities 3 and 4, 3 especially, are factors that very much impact our students. Domestic violence and rape are a huge, very underreported problem everywhere, but it's particularly on college campuses. Our own included, even though ours is probably better than the average college campus in that regard. But I don't think we can understate the importance of programs and services that go towards these victims. Again, I don't think that can't be understated. It's just a huge, widespread problem. Against substance abuse too. I mean, how many of us know people that drink very regularly or do drugs? So yeah, again, I just think that those are priorities that are very, very relevant to students, and they're both very rampant problems on our campus, which are more relevant to students than infant and toddler care.
Director Lancer.
Did I have me move down? My apologies.
Yeah. Senator Hall.
To give some feedback as well, I'd like to see child care moved down, and the violence, rape, and substance use is moved up to 2 and 3, with child care moved down to 4.
Gallery members of election.
First off, Speaker, when people are on that comment,
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
I just want to make sure I'm speaking on the right terms before I kind of just go off on that. Anyway.
Is that better?
Yep, okay.
If you want to do a little more.
Yeah, you can probably begin.
There we go. Right. So I'm not going to comment on number 2 because 1, I don't like children, so it's a bit However, I do feel like there are not enough students to justify such a high priority. I would think that we should, you all should consider the priorities of 5 and 7, as they have a more direct benefit to students. Well, it's still small.
Well, you can blow it up. I don't care.
Anyways, just real quick, the last one is we already fund the student legal services, so I don't know if that necessarily means you guys should consider having it as a higher or low priority. But I do know that there are a lot of students that use it, and I just think that we should consider the priority level of that to reflect accordingly. Who's the other one? Yeah, that's about it. So I would suggest we move to about 9 or something.
Senator Brody.
One thing I just wanted to clarify, first of all, thank you for coming and asking for our opinion. I think that is, good to be able to give some direction. Are we bound by 1 through 8? Can we just take out some priorities, or are these like assets 8 priorities and we have to order them, or can we stick in a new number 9, 10, 11, 12, etc., and move them around in there?
As far as I know, these are your options, but I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, I will have more options for you when we come back with the actual thing, if that's the sentiment that goes on.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Thompson.
I have a question for Finance Director. Number 5, what legal services is that referring to? Is that legal services for students that like services that they provide not community members? Like exactly what does that entail?
There are legal services that student legal services will not provide for students. So I think that that's part of where that picks up, but it could also be in that in that area where it would be community members as well, but I could be mistaken.
I'll direct this to Vice Speaker Snell and if he has an answer.
One answer that popped out, student legal services cannot represent you if the other party is the university. So if the sexual assault, for example, which is on this list, was done by a professor, that might be one instance where the asset priorities would apply to you. However, student legal services could not.
No, they can't use university.
Senator Rhodes?
Yes. I think that we've all agreed that we're going to debate this again at a later date. What I think we should do when we do debate that is we should have some statistics about how this applies to every, like, the campus as a whole. I personally was just looking, and I can't find the statistic of how many students at Iowa State University have children. So I feel like the next time we speak upon this, or maybe now we can just have some statistics of how these points have numbers.
Senator Murdoch?
Okay. I'd just like to say that with the limited knowledge and the limited, in fact, almost non-existent stats that we have on this, that I would agree with Senator Johnson that, child care could be moved down, and a lot of other things could happen. But I'd like to say that any decision that we make would be almost completely arbitrary, which is at our discretion to do stuff like that. But we don't have any facts, we don't have a group here, we don't really have any institutional knowledge on the subject. And I think I don't want to offend anyone. I think it's fine to gather information, but I really don't think it's appropriate to be doing this at all, to submit a bill with no intent of actually passing it. And once again, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I feel like I don't really want to spend my time this way. And I do go to a lot of groups where I wish I could have knowledge gathered from the entire Senate by sending a bill through and then asking them, but I wouldn't do that because I don't think it's appropriate.
Actually, I guess I don't exactly have the question anymore because Senator Kaufman asked my question previously what legal services are. So I guess I just give them my opinion. I like points 1 through 4. I agree with those, that those are something we should fund. 5 was addressed. And I would just comment that 6, 7, and 8 are possibly a little vague because it just refers to services. It's kind of difficult to say what exact services they want that funding for. So I guess for those, I'd like to know more about which services, but overall, I think it's something we should give somewhere into it. Yes, but there wasn't a question because he asked this.
Senator Kinsley?
Okay. Bear with me here. I do think that what's been said is very important, that we don't have enough statistics or any evidence to say which one we prefer, and vice versa. I just wonder whether or not this is the best use of our time as Senate, because of the fact that our own rules of parliamentary procedure inhibit us from reaching a fast and, I guess, uniform conclusion. I would almost like to see maybe some type of form sent out to Senate that they could fill out before next Tuesday, so that Finance Director Rudisky could take that 2 asset and say, we had 500 people say, or 500. We had 5 people who thought this was the most valuable. We had 20 people who thought this was most valuable. So I would just strongly urge, I guess, to table this bill and then to have maybe the Finance Director or Finance Committee to send something out to Senate with maybe some facts and figures, and then do it via electronic submission, because this is going to take all night at the rate we're going if everybody's office up their opinion. Not saying that it's not important, but I think there's better ways to do it, and our rules inhibit that from happening.
Right,
So my question is, because otherwise I'm kind of confused. I mean, we're just going to table this off. We might, lose some of our thoughts, create some more thoughts. So why don't we just table this and talk about it next semester? So I move to table it.
Second. Okay, it has been moved and seconded to table this bill until next semester.
Oh, is it just table or was it indefinite?
It died.
Yeah, sorry. To the chair,
of information, is that a point of information?
To the chair,
Okay.
it was.
Point of information, do you have to ask a question in a point of information?
Point of information.
Okay, we are done.
No.
Are there any objections to
Object.
Okay. Okay, yes means you want to table this, no means you don't want to, abstain means abstain, placards up for yes.
Okay, raise your placard high. Make sure your decision is out there.
Down, up for nose, down, up for abstentions. By a vote of 29-2-1, this bill is tabled. We're now in closing announcements.
Okay, so I have something about the elections. So I sent out an email to some of the senior senators. So sometime next week, I'm having a little meeting, get together, unofficial, about the elections. It should take more than an hour. So if you're interested in being part of it, you either can talk to Senator Howell, myself, or President Hughes, and they can send you the Euro to it. Right now, it's looking like Wednesday at 4 is the most possible option. So that's what I just have to say about that. But I would really like to have a input from the Senate. I know that I've got some feedback of interest from the cabinet. And I'll be there, so it'll be a great time. That's all I have to say. So see one of the three of us at the end of the meeting if you're interested. Sure.
I just had are there any specific topics, just like you mentioned when you talked about this last time, that you'd be possibly considering advocating a move to a party system, or like will there be other broader things talked about? Or?
So I actually started an agenda, so I feel really proud of myself. what I have down so far is that first we're gonna if anyone has any feedback from the last election, I want to take that into consideration. And then the second item on the agenda is to kind of discuss what points I've gotten from other schools and kind of just get a feasibility of how that might work in GSB before I go through the whole trouble of getting it and then it's like, whoa, someone wants it, that kind of stuff. So that gives me time to also contact any of the schools with any feedback that they might have before the DU ends, because I know some of them are graduating and once the summer was gone, so trying to just get some last minute feedback from them.
Senator Figgins, you also have a question?
Yes. Did you send it to senior senators or senior senators that you like?
I sent it to the committee chairs and the speaker and the president.
Gotcha.
That's a yes.
Senator Bauer.
Okay. Like I stated during my report, the PR committee could just meet back here very briefly after the meeting. Also, like I stated during my report, look for an email. I'll probably email it out tomorrow, kind of detailing what to kind of put in your biography. I'd like to have it done, well, not soon, but by the end of May preferably. So that way we can get that to the webmaster and myself, and that way we can get that uploaded to the website. So the website is 100% ready to go by next fall. So just kind of think about what you want in your biography, whatever you want, 1 or 2 paragraphs. If you want to write more, write a book like Vice Speakers Now, go for it. It's up to you. Also, make sure you are keeping up to date with your outreach. I would suggest that you do it as you go, not wait till the end, so that way you're not bombarded. So then if you did work at New Government Day, it's 10 points an hour for the first 2 hours, and anything after it is just on your own precious time. So just put in the date section on the submission form how many hours you work, so that way I can give the points necessary to you. And also going off of that, if you go to the website, go to legislative tab, go to standing committee tab, go to public relations committee, and then all the way at the bottom of the page, it has the link to the individual page for the outreach. Like I said, it has everything on there that you need. The submission form is the #1 thing. I will also send the password out tonight. Like I said, the password's not some big security issue. It's just so random people can't fill out the form. And one last thing, I'm pretty sure everyone in the room has their picture taken, but if not, come see me after the meeting. It's been a great first 3 weeks. Looking forward to session number 2. Hope everyone has good luck on your finals, and I hope everyone has a great summer.
Senator Walsh.
All right. I just want to say first, I know this was already said before, but I just wanted to reach my hand out one more time and just say to Senator Voss, Senator Snell, Senator Bauer, and everybody else who helped with Student Government Day. Just seeing the transition coming in here just a few weeks ago, everybody did a great job working towards that. I was glad to be able to provide any hand I could just kind of through the transition, but they did a great job and it was a great success. There were a couple things. I was raising my placard too late in the game tonight, but it bothered me a little bit how much the word precedent kept coming up tonight. And I just kept thinking to myself, precedent, precedent, precedent. But I think it was you, Senator Kensler, you said it too, that, you know, precedents are great, but you can only apply a certain weight to them. And just because Senates have done things before doesn't mean we have to do it that way. And there's a unique circumstance for every problem, and that needs to be considered. And also, I can tell just in a few weeks the tremendous challenge that awaits everybody for funding, with all the groups who have already came to us, and how tight we are with funding. But I think in situations where we can somehow benefit as many students as possible, in a situation where we can benefit every single club on campus sort of thing, I think that's one way that you can really represent your constituents. And I just kind of wanted to get that point out also. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Senator Voss.
Thank you. I hate to beat a dead horse. Then again, I hate to beat a live horse too. But it is on the discussion of Meet Your Government Day. I do feel it was quite successful. Right in opposition to what the event opposition was to it. But the thing that I'm going to bring up is that next year, I think we will be working on a next Meet Your Government Day. We may change the name, President Hughes. I don't know. Maybe something zippier. That was a suggestion that you made. We had positive comments about it. We had positive criticisms, though, as well. And that's important to keep in mind when you make something better. That might be as a committee on a type of public relations like this, maybe within public relations committee, since it does kind of seem like a public relations thing. I will not necessarily be heading that. This is just more so to get the ball rolling, and I'm glad to see the Senate was there behind it to push that ball. So with that, thank you guys, everyone that helped me and helped us, and with that, I yield.
Senator Birch.
May I direct a question to President Hughes?
You may.
You said, I can't remember if it was in your executive remarks or in your State of the Student Body.
Yeah, I talked a lot tonight.
You said that you talked with some of the leaders of the Graduate and Professional Student Senate.
Right.
And maybe this is not something that goes on regularly, but would you be willing to maybe give myself and Senator Brody some guidelines or some of the things that were discussed, so when we ourselves get to meet with them, we know kind of where we're not going in blind?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
President Hughes.
Okay, come on. I already talked about Meet Your Government Day. It was a big success, so definitely good work on that. I'm sure a lot of people are going to mention that. Two things real quick since I know it's late. First, George Michelon wanted me to mention this since he didn't get, when he was asking about Duck Dynasty, Modern Family, Seth Meyers, he wanted me to say, to get one cast member for Duck Dynasty is $75,000. The cast member cost for Modern Family is about half that. So the comparison wasn't the whole cast, or he said it was either Seth Meyers, 2 Modern Family cast members, or 1 Duck Dynasty cast member. So that's kind of, those are the 3 options. So if you share that with your friends and ask them to share their feedback with Sub, then those are kind of the options on the table. Additionally, since this is the last meeting of the session, good work over the session. I think it was a really successful 3 weeks. Looking forward to the fall, absolutely. Just thought I'd let you all know, everything that passed today, I do plan to sign with the potential exception of the Trap and Skeet Club line item transfer. I'll be discussing that with some of my executive team, and we'll plan to make a decision whether to sign or veto by tomorrow evening. That would allow the speaker an opportunity to call a special meeting for a potential veto override if she does choose to do so before Dead Week started on Monday. So that meeting could be scheduled for Sunday potentially. But I will let you all know via email probably tomorrow evening. That's the plan.
Point of information, the board policy for Dead Week does start applying on Sunday, so we would have to.
Oh really? Well, I know that we had a special meeting on a Sunday before. I guess maybe on Saturday then.
Ask George.
If she, I mean, it would be her discretion if I did choose to do so, but I have not made a decision.
What would be some of your considerations in vetoing?
I'll have to have further discussions, and we'll be sure to inform you of those after those discussions have taken place.
Chief of Staff,
all right, this is the last Senate meeting of the academic year, so I might not see some of your faces again until fall. But we are having a joint executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch social kind of just hang out and get to know each other event next Wednesday. That'll be here in the Memorial Union, most likely starting in the Oak Room. You should see an email in your inbox over the next couple days. But Senator Michael Plattenberg and Executive Cabinet Member Matt and Amanda Loomis have worked very hard on this event, and I would love to see as many of you guys come as possible. It'll be a good way to get to know people all across GSB. One other thing, if you look, anyone who's interested in finding out what Spencer talked about in his address tonight, if you didn't get a chance to hear it all, or he was moving a little bit too fast, or you want to go through it again, it's on the website underneath President, so Executive and then President, and near his biography and stuff like that. All right? Is there a question?
It's on the video, too.
And it's on the video.
Okay, I don't think I've ever said so much in a Senate meeting in my life. I don't know about any meeting, but I just noticed a couple things that I'd actually like to share this time. I don't know, it bothered me, but I think it's really strange to be able to ask a question of intent, to say, is it the author's intent to explain why we're not going to have a second read, but then not have the opportunity to hear that explanation until after we've already decided on whether to grant them a no second read. I mean, I'm sure people have thought about that in parliamentary procedure way more than I have, but I just don't understand it. Another thing is, when we were talking about the StuOrg database, something happened that I don't think I've ever seen, but I've only been around for like 5 months. But the question was called while there were some multiple placards up. We actually voted on whether to question then, and we decided to. And I think that's a really interesting tool that we haven't used at all. In the past, it's always been, if you call the question and there's placards up, it's courtesy to withdraw all the questions and let them all talk. But I think the concern a lot of people have is that we debate for a really, really long time, and we debate too much, and it's everyone's right to be heard, of course, that's why we're here, but it's just interesting, maybe we thought about more to do that. I have to also apologize to Dan. I said something, maybe other people didn't think it was, but I thought it could be taken that I was personally saying that it was completely wrong for him to have brought that bill up, and I apologize. I really respect Dan, and I didn't mean that. Meet Your Government Day was fantastic.
First of all, to address, it's a 2/3 vote to end debate, so the body has that control. And so, I've noticed that as a courtesy, generally people withdraw that motion to call the question. But it's a 2/3 of the body can end debate on the subject and move to vote, or whatever. So that's a tool that can be used, and maybe it hasn't been done. Well within the bounds of other tools, and I think that's a very important tool. To speak to a little bit what Senator Walsh said about precedent, just speaking from someone new to this body, I think there's a lot of things that we're voting on that I don't have the institutional knowledge, and so precedent is kind of in some ways kind of all you have. I think as a body to act consistently and fairly over time, precedent is very important, and I would thank everyone who brought elements of that discussion, of what Senate, how Senate has acted in the past. Certainly, we are not bound by precedent in any official way, but if we do decide to change precedent in how we act, that should carry weight. That is a big decision, depending on what that precedent is. But I just think we should be, yeah, especially with a body with a bunch of relatively new representatives, such as myself. I think the discussions of precedent are extremely important and illuminating to just make sure that we're not a body that is acting kind of on a whim and changing course too often, because that's when student orgs and the groups that come before us get treated differently time to time. So I for one, do place a lot of weight on precedent. And again, yeah, like I said, if it's bad, we can move off that, but that should be kind of a discussion, and we should be aware of when we're deviating from precedent and really wanting to set a new precedent. So I would, yeah, encourage
objectivity would have to
that should be
people I already know. I already talked to them. I already know what they want.
Today is National Pigs in a Blanket Day, so happy National Pigs in a Blanket Day.
Go Cyclones!
All right, I want to say a couple things. First of all, I want to apologize to Senators Kinsler, Voss, and Herman for earlier getting a little personal. I have a tendency to do that because I have a great ego, and I apologize for that at times. Second of all, I want to say, I'm glad that Senator already did bring up the point, because I do believe that's especially when we're dealing with technical issues. And I want to go back to Senator real quick on the courtesy question. You could say that courtesy is almost precedent, and I'll say that a couple more times for Senator Washington. But lastly, though, I do want to say that it was nice sitting here. I don't know if you noticed, Finance sent out the database rewrite unfavorably. So it's nice to see that we have not gotten a moment too slow on going against Finance Committee's will in the Senate. Everyone who's been here before understands that.
Well,
so, the GSB couple.
Lastly, I want to thank Senator Wilson, who's going to be graduating with us, for sticking out with us for the past 3 weeks. It's difficult at times, I understand. It takes a very special kind of person to do this just for this short amount of time, so I think she deserves a credit. And lastly, I want to thank all of you for the work that we've done the past 3 weeks, and I can't wait to get started when we get back. And I apologize for my leaving usage.
There's no campus web. There's also campus web.
So, but I really we will never forget. I look forward to what we're going to do, and stay tuned for the summer. If you ever have any questions,
it's not like it's a very consistent, so that doesn't
I'll be here, obviously.
It's not like it's ever changed.
And we're going to make sure that we hit the ground running when we come back this fall. So thank you again, and
Finance Director Radisky.
Okay, I guess I do want to know whether you all are interested in having some brainstorming sessions next week on what we're going to do with funding in the next year. That's going to be something that we're going to start needing to have discussions and action on. And I'm more than willing to spend part of my day with anyone who wants to be interested. Is there interest in doing it, say, Wednesday after the social? Yes, this is an informal straw poll. I think we will tentatively plan on that, since that's a time that most people have blocked off in their social lives anyways.
So we're going to do it at 10:30 at night.
I hope not. But, okay, so we will plan on that. You aren't required to be there, but I would appreciate at least your input if you aren't going to be in attendance, if you have ideas for funding moving forward. If you have any questions about any of the funding things going on, please don't hesitate to ask. As you probably have realized, I know just about everything, and when I don't, I usually have a pretty good idea of where to find my answers. And I apologize for not having all the information on asset. That's been something that I've been kind of tossed into in the last 2 weeks, and have not really had much experience in. So I apologize for not being able to give you more information today on that. Since precedent came up, actually, I shared a quote with President Hughes the other day. A friend of mine tweeted it about a week ago, and I thought it was interesting. So I shared it with President Hughes. I'm going to share it with you. It's by Clara Barton, I believe. It says, "I have almost a complete disregard of precedent and a faith in the possibility of something better. It irritates me to be told how things have always been done. I defy the tyranny of precedent." And I read it not to say that precedent shouldn't hold weight, because I think precedents are important. But it's sometimes important to question the precedent and make sure that it is indeed where we want our thoughts to lie. Because there's something to be said for shifting those precedents and making sure that the decisions that we're making are indeed what we believe is, say, the best use of student fee money, or the thoughts of the student body of Iowa State. So I guess that's going to be my challenge to you over the summers, to think about some of the precedents that we maybe have brought up, have built up, for those of you who have maybe more seasoned senators. If I'm addressing you, maybe think about those precedents that we refer to. And some of the younger senators think about how we can move forward in the funding process from a new perspective, because I'm not talking about building it on the old block, but maybe a completely new one, because no option is outside of the box right now. So with that, go Cyclones. Thanks, guys.
Clerk of the Senate? He's going to finish typing something, so I will.
All right. Last time I'm going to have to repeat this to you guys. Take Back the Night is tomorrow, 6 o'clock, NU West Terrace. Be there, bring plenty of friends. I mean, no one stands for rape, so everyone should be out there. There should be 31,000 students out there protesting on this route.
Hey, if everyone goes, we don't have fun, so.
There's a camera.
Wow. I'm wondering if everybody's feeling okay tonight, because I got Alex over here who actually agreed with the funding bill. I got Dan back there who's rallying against the president, the vice president that doesn't want to talk. So I just wondering if everybody's all right tonight. And we're giving props from Marissa back here. I'm not happy. I got to replace her. So, I'm kidding. Part of the unfortunate duties of precedent for the vice speaker, one of the unfortunate duties of the vice speaker is kind of be the butthead that reminds us of our mistakes at the end. So, yep. I have a few. The main one that I want to get out there is regarding the asset conversation, the asset bill conversation we had. Dan was requested to seek our input. He came to us for our input, and at times it kind of felt like maybe we were treating him like a dog. That was my perception. Maybe a lot of people didn't intend it that way, but we have to remember that finance director is our officer. He is an officer of the Senate. He's one of us. And he was simply asked something, and he came to us because he's our representative. And there was a little bit of hostility regarding that bill. We could have simply gave him our opinion or tabled the bill or whatever and moved on. We didn't need to be quite so contentious about that, so let's keep that in mind. A lot of people mentioned us going around in circles a few times, and that's true. Part of the art of being a senator is not going around in circles, but the flip side of this that I always like to remind you, even when I was just a lowly old senator, is that you have the two speaking privileges that are 5 minutes apiece, and you may use them. So balance your 10 minutes on every motion to speak with the responsibility to your colleagues to not beat the dead horse, as everybody says 17 times. Don't beat the dead horse. Shouldn't be live ones either. Somebody requested that I mentioned something about passing during voting. if you have questions, if you need to think about how you're gonna vote, just put your placard up before we vote, or object to the vote, or whatever, so we can worry about that. If you have questions, ask them before we get to the vote. That's fine. That's what you have the speaking privilege for. Try not to pass, anybody who's been here long enough knows that sometimes people pass to see how somebody else is gonna vote. I can't tell you how to vote, but if you don't know how you're gonna vote, probably not good to rely on somebody else. Just throwing that out there too. You're not doing your job as a senator, essentially, if you're copying somebody else's work, pretty much. Oh, by the way, Dan, are you familiar with like Google Forms and stuff? You good with that? Maybe just send one of those out about 8 asset priorities, and then people can click however they want to order it. If you're skilled enough, that'd be a great way to do this. I think we'd all. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe. Hey, I know C++, but I don't know how to do a Google form. So, yeah, I know. C++ is still around. President Hughes, that was a great state of the student body. I've seen a few. That was probably the best one. I really like that. I encourage when Zach gets the video up in 3 or 4 days, because it takes a while. I would encourage everybody to go back and do that again. I think he laid down a lot of the thoughts that I had, a lot of the thoughts that Speaker Williams has had, some of the senior senators in discussing. We're all on the same page with President Hughes here. So if you want to know, maybe get some inspiration about some of the routes we should take in the fall, that would be a great place to start. So thank you for that. Last but not least, you guys seated me once more as your SSFTC representative of the Student Fee and Tuition Committee. As Speaker Hughes put it, probably the most important committee that GSB is involved with. The problem that I encountered last year when I was thrown into it is that I was deprived of you, and I didn't have your input. While you're all here, I can just, at the Senate meeting or down in the Western office space, I can ask you what you guys think of something, but I don't have that privilege and that opportunity during the summer. And that really is difficult for me because I am your representative. The executive branch can kind of make up their own opinion, but you have to make my opinion. So I will be sending emails out over the summer, and I respectfully request that you guys read them. I'll be reporting to you what we talked about in the SSFTC meeting. If you have questions, if you have input, please, guys, I'm asking you, please, reply to those emails if you have something to say. Or just say hi to, but just give me your feedback. Otherwise, I'm the Lone Ranger, and that's not why I was appointed to SSFTC. I have my opinion, and if that's the way you want to play it, I guess that's the way I got to do it, but please. Okay, guys. If you trusted me, I got to trust you to give me input. And with that, that's all I got. Have a great dead week. Good luck on your finals, and happy summer, everybody. Go Cyclones.
Speaker Williams.
All right, well, it's our last meeting of the session. I thought we did fabulously. I thought we did fabulously tonight. I thought it was a very efficient meeting, and we've done really well for the past 3 weeks. I'm just very excited for the fall and spring sessions with you guys. There's a lot for us to do, and I think we'll do it well. Meet Your Government Day has been brought up a lot, and it was very successful. And I was really impressed by the students that came by. A lot of them are seniors, but once you got out there and you spoke with them, they actually had a lot to say. They didn't necessarily know everything about GSB, but they had some good thoughts. And I would encourage everyone at our next little meeting or Meet Your Government Day or whatever we are deciding to jazz it up as, to go and talk to people. I saw a lot of senators doing their jobs, which was fabulously, or doing their jobs fabulously, but I wanted to see a little bit more people just talking to people. I mean, that's really what we're there for. Yeah, we want to tell them about what we're doing, and I think that's really important. But what I also think is important is getting their input. And a lot of times it's really hard to do when you're talking the whole time, or they don't seem interested. Just start with a nice conversation, or start little and then go big about GSB and hear what they have to say. I think that's really important and something that we'll be working on. We have a few things to work on. I'm going to bring asset in here because I think that's important, especially we'll be talking. I set up the program, so if you guys have any ideas for programs, I think this is one of them. You'll get a series of programs in the fall and spring sessions. And that's kind of why they're there, just so you can hear what people have to say, what they're doing. We fund a lot of people, and we should be up to date on what we're doing and what they're doing. I think it's really important. And it's also important to come prepared to Senate. I know this asset bill was a little bit later, but this is just kind of a good example of why it's important to read the bills and really say, oh, asset, maybe I should check in on that. I should look at that really fast just to get some basics going, just so you're well prepared for Senate, and we, if we don't have the group there, we're able to be at least a little bit more informed and help each other out and discuss. Okay. Also for university committees, we mentioned committees with Vice Speaker Snell. Please make sure that you're on a committee. Our Vice President will be sending out a list within the next few weeks. So if you're not on a committee, make sure that you talk to her and get on one. In the past, there hasn't been as much accountability for that, so we'll make sure that there is. And we're coming up with more ideas on how to get you involved as well on those university committees and how you can further express what you're doing on your committee to the Senate. I think that's really important. So that's something that will be in further conversation. Also, I don't know, just mention stuff that we do. Like today we just passed the StuOrg bill. And whether or not you agreed with it or not, it's something that we're doing, and it's something that's moving forward, and it's exciting. You talk to these student organizations, talk to people, and this is something handy to just pull out of your pocket and say, look at what we're doing. This is exciting. So I just think that's really fun and something to do. Also, remember that there is VERT training. What day is that? Saturday. And okay, well, VERT training is Saturday and 12 to 3, in case you didn't know. And it's upstairs in the gallery room. So please come to that. That's really important. There's been a lot of stuff in the news lately about incidences like this, and I think as a Senate we should definitely show support and know about this as well. That's pretty much all I have. It's our last meeting, and I'm really proud of everyone, and I'm excited to work with you guys. So please have a safe summer. Look for emails. Be thinking about GSB and where you kind of want to take the Senate. And just keep talking to people and stay on your toes. And thank you so much for such a great session. And I move to adjourn.
Second.